Well, hello everyone. We'll be starting here at 7:30. Just getting everything going here. Awesome. Semperanius Densis first. Thanks for joining. Got four people on here so far. We have an incredible show tonight. Lots of guests, lots of interesting topics to cover. So many crazy bills going through the state legislature. We'll talk a little bit about what happened today, what's been going on this last week, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. Really glad everybody's here. And yeah, it's going to be a blast here starting shortly. So hang on, folks. Hey, what's up, Forest Mommy? Glad to see you in the chat. Like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Gonna have a great show tonight. So much going on. It's gonna be wild. I'm really excited about all the guests we have lined up. And yeah, we'll get started here shortly. Thanks for everybody joining early here. We'll be getting started at 7:30. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of great guests. It's gonna be a blast. We have an amazing program tonight, folks. You're going to be an expert in what's going on down at the state capitol. We have so many amazing liberty activists, liberty minded Coloradans paying attention, getting involved, using their voice down at the state capitol. So great to see so many people standing up and speaking out. I'm so optimistic about the way things are going. I know it doesn't feel that way for everybody, but there's so much to be thankful for, so much to look forward to. And we get a great show tonight. Two, possibly three guests. There's so much going on today. There was the kind of gender affirming care event down. So Erin Lee might join us. She was at that all day, so we'll see if she's able to make it here. Really want to get her opinions on 1312. And then we do have Representative Ken DeGraff. Wasn't sure if he was going to be able to make it because they had the legislative session today, and who knew how long that was going to go. So thankfully he will be able to join us here. And then we are going to have Natalie Menton to talk about the Tabor bill. So lots of great stuff going on, and a lot of bills to go through. Michael Vance, and myself have our work cut out for us. A lot of bills, a lot of activity. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You're gonna be an expert just by watching this and become a political insider. So appreciate everybody. The CPAN event, Forest Mommy says, was awesome, was full. That's great. I saw some pictures, looked like a blast. Aaron and a few others were sounding the alarm for getting involved. That's great. Yeah, Aaron Lee's been a real fighter. Really thankful to have her in the fight. Hey, what's up, Finest City Cycling? We are thought criminals and liberty lovers. That's true. Very, very true. So get involved in the chat, folks. We'll be taking questions from the chat. We will be responding to messages in the chat, especially for our guests. If you have questions, this is a great opportunity for you to be connected with some of the leading liberty minded Colorado leaders here in our state tonight. We have some amazing people on, so it's going to be a fun time. Good to see Finest City Cycling was at CPAN as well. That's great. Looked like a great event. We'll see if Aaron's able to join us and tell us a little bit about it. So we are about to get started, folks. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, get this out there with people. Let's get more and more people tuning in. See 22 people so far. That's awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started here with the program. We'll see about our guests as they join us tonight. So hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. Welcome to the legislative live stream, our weekly live stream we do during the legislative session. It is April 6, 2025. There are 665 bills that have been introduced in our state capitol. We have Michael Vance, the legislative director of the Libertarian Party of Colorado. Michael Vance, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Brandon. There's a lot to get through, and I'm excited to talk about it. How about yourself?
Doing great. Yeah, doing great. Was able to catch a little bit of the legislative session this morning, watching some of what was going on in the House. Absolutely insane, absolutely criminal. Really hoping that we can ask some good questions about that to Representative DeGraff when he joins us a little bit later. And yeah, we got some other guests joining us here. So looking forward to it. Glad you're doing well, Michael. You also had a great event last night I saw you were at.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Alicia Garcia of the Second Syndicate, she hosted Lily Tang Williams at the gallery down in uh, the Denver West area, right next to Colorado Mills Mall. It's a fantastic little gathering. If you're familiar with Jeffco LP, that I know that's where we frequently have most of our meetings. So it was a wonderful event. They brought a lot of guns. They actually had, when you got there, they had the option of coming to the event for free, meeting everybody, and that was well worth it. But if you spent a few dollars, you had the opportunity to get 50 free rounds, and they had a whole lineup of guns for you to try out. It was absolutely wonderful. I got to shoot my first full auto yesterday, so that was a lot of fun. Um, they had $4,000, $6,000 pistols there for you to try. You had Glocks with suppressors, all sorts of cool things that, if you appreciate the Second Amendment, you would absolutely be thrilled by. On top of that, you got to meet a Liberty lover in Lily Tang Williams. And if you're not familiar with her, she is a communist refugee from China who escaped communism, came to Colorado, lived here 21 years, and she really got activated politically in 2013 when post Batman shooting, when the legislature really tried to clamp down on our gun rights back then. So that's what activated her, and she really is trying to raise the alarm bells, and she speaks nationally now. Just warning people of the dangers of communism and the threats that she's seen and a lot of the similarities that she's seen now versus what she saw in China. So we were very disappointed to see Lily Tang Williams not make it into the United States House of Representatives back in 2024 because she moved to New Hampshire, and she's been there for the last 7 years, I believe. But We were sad to see Lily Tang Williams leave Colorado, but we were so excited that she comes back and she really cares about her state. And it was a very inspiring message. So if you have the opportunity to meet Lily Tang Williams, highly encourage it.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of great events going on around Colorado this weekend. It's great to see the Liberty community being so active. And folks, if you haven't joined us before, every week during the legislative session, we meet here at 7:30 p.m. till 9:30 or however long it takes to go over some of the most important bills being heard in committee hearings down at the state capitol this week, trying to empower you, educate you, give you the tools you need to be an effective communicator and use your voice. We got to stand up. We got to speak out. We don't want to become communist China, of course, or Colorado's well on its way to becoming California, and we do not want that. And I'm really hopeful that we can fight. So let's go ahead and jump on here. Michael, pull up the slide deck here. You ready for that?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
Awesome, awesome. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and hit record. So hopefully we can make some clips out of the video here. But folks, this is going to be saved on YouTube, so you can always reference it later throughout the week. If you're interested in getting the slides, I'd be happy to share that with you. Just let me know, send me a message on X, probably is the best. But folks, we got a lot going on. 665 bills introduced, absolutely crazy. So tonight we got some special guests joining us. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Erin Lee might join us. She is a fighter. She was at the CPAN event today, so not sure if she was going to be able to make it or not. So she might be joining us momentarily. We'll have her join when she does. We got Natalie Menton, who's one of our taxpayer advocates, one of our pro Tabor leaders here in the state. She'll be talking about the Tabor bill coming up tomorrow, and then at 8:30 we have Representative Ken DeGraff. Really looking for an update on the civil asset forfeiture bill he's running this year, as well as getting some insight into what happened down at the state capitol today. So stay tuned, folks. In between all of this, Michael and I are going to cover some of the bills that are going to be heard this week in committee hearings. So how does that sound, Michael?
That sounds great. There's a lot to get into. I can't believe how many bills they've introduced this session.
It's absolutely crazy here. So let's go ahead and I got a new slide this week, something a little bit different, but I really wanted to kind of sound the alarm on some of the most important bills. So, folks, if you can't stay the whole 2 hours or plus, at least here's some of the headlines. Take a screenshot here or come back and find this later. But these are some of the bigger bills. We had 1312 pass out of the state house today. Word on the street is that it's going to be introduced on the Senate Judiciary Committee on Monday. So tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. They are trying to rush this bill through. 1312 has been national headlines because if you misgender your kid and there's a custody dispute, you could lose custody of your child. So it's absolutely crazy. They're making this whole transgender cult into having the power of the gun behind them, the power of the government behind them, and it is an absolute disaster. So word on the street, I haven't checked the calendar since they got out of session today, but that 1312 is going to be heard on Monday, April 7th at 1:30 p.m. in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Then also tomorrow, I'll be down at the state capitol for this bill, House Joint Resolution 1023, require General Assembly Tabor constitutionality lawsuit. Check out my previous video with Natalie Menton on that one if you hadn't seen it. But literally, they're the state legislature, these anti-Tabor Democrats are going to sue the people of Colorado to repeal the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. They want to say that Tabor is unconstitutional because it doesn't allow these greedy politicians to raise our taxes to an unlimited level. So we got all hands on deck to fight that one, folks. It is absolutely insane. I think the Democrats have a little bit of hubris. I think they misjudge things, and I'm hoping this one comes back to bite them next election. So really bad stuff. And then Tuesday, criminal asset forfeiture 1067, a bill we've been talking about for months now, Michael. Finally getting some action there. Hopefully there's some good progress. I'm really curious to see what Representative DeGraff says about his bill. One of the most pro-liberty bills we've seen this year. Criminal asset forfeiture would eliminate civil asset forfeiture here in Colorado and replace it with criminal asset forfeiture. So that is being heard Tuesday, April 8th at 1:30 p.m. in the House Judiciary Committee. Now it's already gone through the debate and public comment phase. So it'll just be for action, which means amendments being introduced and votes being taken. So for this one, folks, reach out to those House Judiciary members. If you care at all about our civil liberties in terms of stopping civil asset forfeiture, please email and call the members of the House Judiciary Committee here in Colorado and tell them to vote yes on House Bill 1067. So any thoughts on these big three bills, Michael?
They're they're some of the biggest bills that we're going to see. We've got two very concerning bills. Thankfully, we have something that um, we have a good bill that we can actually support. Very happy to see that. I'm really hoping that we can get criminal asset forfeiture pass through the committee and onto the floor. I'd love to see a actual debate on criminal asset forfeiture in the well. But I'm also very concerned. I, like you, I will also be down at the Capitol tomorrow uh, to testify against House Joint Resolution 1023. This is an egregious front on our Tabor rights. They are trying to completely strip us of Tabor. Meanwhile, the Democrats are also complaining about tariffs. I mean, it's really hypocritical for them to come after our Tabor rights um, if they want to complain about tariffs and everything going on nationally with Trump and our yeah, with everything else going on with the Democrats and what's going on with Trump. So, and then I'm also extremely concerned about 1312 as well. That's a complete violation of our First Amendment rights. I don't see how that could possibly withstand a legal challenge in court on a federal level, particularly on a federal level. So I'm very curious where that one's going to stand. But this is very concerning because we're seeing our country, or excuse me, seeing our state swiftly move in, transition into a something that's even worse than California before our own eyes.
Oh, it's absolutely insane what they're doing down at the state capitol here, folks. So, three huge bills. If this is all you get from the live stream this week, I hope you stay for the whole time. We have a lot to cover, a lot of stuff you're not going to hear in the media and the news, some inside information from Representative DeGraff, some expertise from our Tabor expert, Natalie Menton. So, stick around. But if this is the only thing you take away from this tonight, please, those three bills are the most urgent things happening down at the state capitol this week. These are where you can have an impact, where you can use your voice, where you can do something. So stand up, people, and make your voice heard. So take a screenshot of that, and let's go ahead and get into the week here. The Bills of the week. So a little theme here with a bow and arrow. I had some fun with this one here. So Monday, oh my gosh, this committee hearing has so much. So folks, we go through the most pertinent legislative committee hearings during the week. We're going to show you some of the bills you can testify on. If you go to freestatecolorado.com/testify, there's an easy guide there to show you exactly what you need to do, explain that process. Check out Free State Colorado on YouTube, some videos there as well showing you the process to speak on these bills. But okay, so Monday, everybody knows there's a huge problem with vacancy elections in Colorado, right? Like at one point, there's one quarter, 25% of the state legislature, so 25 out of the 100 legislators were appointed, not elected. That means a small group of party insiders selected these people to take the seats of individuals who had been elected and then resigned, and now they are serving and representing these communities. They become incumbents. It's a lot harder to defeat them in the election at that point. So literally, folks, Monday, April 7th here, 1:30 p.m., Legislative Service Buildings. That's a building across from the state capitol, so just south of the state capitol here. The State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee in the House is going to hear all of these bills. They literally packed every single vacancy committee bill this year into this one committee. So we won't spend a ton of time on all of them, but vacancy committees are so important. It's a bipartisan hatred of these vacancy committees. So they've been promising doing something about it, and we'll just fly through some of these. Any thoughts just on vacancy committees in general, Michael?
Oh, I agree with you. It's a real problem. I mean, we saw it happen in 2024. I thought it was interesting watching one of your videos really blow up when Senator Hansen decided to resign almost immediately after winning his next term. So, I believe Senator Joe Day is serving for a full 4 years without even being elected to that position because she won a senatorial seat. We also saw Senator Ball win another vacancy committee appointment right before the legislative session kicked off as well. So as you said, 25 of the 100 are appointed and not elected. That's a serious problem. So I'm really hoping that some of these bills will offer a real solution to the problem that Colorado has in its state legislature, as well as the county commissioner roles. Hey, Brandon,
Let's jump.
yeah, there.
Yep, gotcha. Let's jump into the first one here. This is being heard tomorrow. Let's go through these vacancy committee bills. So the first one has to do with county commissioner vacancies. Now, this is a bill that's, I would say, 99% chance it's going to pass, right? I wouldn't give it 100, but 99%, because you have the minority leader, Rose Puglisi, you have the majority leader, Monica Duran, and you have Senator Kirkmeyer on it. Even though she's not the minority leader in the Senate, definitely one of the more powerful senators over there. So this is a bill that they've been working on a bipartisan level to change how county commissioner vacancies happen. So that's one step. This is House Bill 1319. Let's just go ahead and jump into the fiscal note, folks. So sometimes when you're looking at these bills online at the legislative website, the fiscal note kind of gives you a little bit of a breakdown. That's a little bit more simple. So let's just tune into that and see what it says here. Okay. The bill creates a new type of vacancy election for county commissioner vacancies that occur in a county with a population of at least 50,000 and the commissioner is affiliated with a major political party. If a vacancy occurs after July 31st of an even numbered year, and before July 31st of an odd number year, a vacancy committee selects a candidate to serve until the next odd year November election. A vacancy election is then held as a part of the district's odd year November coordinated election. Only unaffiliated voters and voters affiliated with the vacating commissioner's political party may vote in the vacancy commission election unless the political party votes to open the election to all voters. Candidates for the vacancy election are required to submit a nominating statement and signed petition to their county clerk. The winner of the vacancy election serves until the next November general election. So interesting. So basically creating a vacancy election instead of having the committee pick it up. So a little bit of a change there. There's a lot in here, folks, in these fiscal notes, lots of good information that you can find. But yeah, so there you go. One for county commissioners to change how vacancy elections are conducted there. Any thoughts on this one, Michael?
Uh, I mean, I agree it's gonna pass with all with the amount of leadership that's in here. I mean, we need to do something. I don't necessarily know if this would be the best option for Colorado. I think there's another bill on our list that might be a better option for the county commissioner role, but I definitely think that there is a position that could be, or there is something that does need to be done.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, we'll see that one make it through, folks. That's going to be an interesting one. Next
Hmm.
up in the State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee being heard tomorrow, elections to fill county commissioner vacancies. So nearly identical bill title from Representative Richardson, freshman legislator there from Albert County. This one I doubt is going to make it if they already have another one in place, but let's just look at it, see if there's any obvious differences real quick. It says the bill eliminates the use of a vacancy committee to fill a vacated office of a county commissioner and requires instead that counties conduct an election. The vacancy occurs within 180 days of a regularly scheduled primary, coordinated, or general election. The vacancy election is held as part of that election. If outside this window, the county clerk must conduct a separate special election. If the county conducts a special election, this county clerk must submit an election plan to the Department of State. And the bill establishes timelines for the Department of State to approve the plan, ballots be mailed absentee. So this is interesting. It definitely gives more freedom to the counties. It definitely really leaves a lot more open so that the counties can kind of make their own decisions as opposed to the other bill we've seen that it just basically sets the rules, it seems. So interesting. I don't know if there's any other sponsors on this bill. It doesn't look like it. So this bill's probably not going anywhere, but definitely Representative Richardson trying to address the issue that is going to be addressed in that other bill. Any thoughts on this?
No, I think this is the bill I was actually talking about a little bit ago. I think this is a better bill. It gives more freedom to the counties, and at the end of the day, I think this is going to be something that the voters are going to be happier with at the versus letting another vacancy committee take care of the issue just in a different way that uh, they're basically scrambling eggs versus trying to come up with a new process. I would that's how I would that's how I'd kind of describe Bill 1 versus Bill 2. I think this is going to be better. I think this one would be we would be better off and we'd see a lot more satisfied people being able to have a real choice in the county commissioner position versus just letting the vacancy committee do it in a different way.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see some of the differences there. There's one here, vacancies in the General Assembly. So this is House Bill 1315. Another one that is bipartisan. You see Representative Puglisi, Senator Kirkmeyer on it, just like the other one. You have Senator Weissman, Representative Sirota. So I would say this is probably extremely likely to pass as well. So they want to change how vacancy elections are conducted in the General Assembly. Let's jump into that fiscal note here, make it a little bit bigger for you guys. So let's see how it's going to operate. says the bill requires that a vacancy committee to fill a vacancy in the General Assembly include county commissioners. It also specifies that a member of a vacancy committee must be appointed for at least 90 days to participate in the vacancy committee process. If a vacancy in the General Assembly occurs for a member affiliated with a major political party after July 31st of an even numbered year and before July 31st of an odd numbered year, a vacancy committee selects a candidate to serve until the next odd year November election. A vacancy election, a new type of election created by this bill, is then held as part of the district's odd year November coordinated election. Interesting. So they're basically adding another election on odd years because legislators, as we know, are all elected on even years. State reps are every 2 years, state senators are every 4 years, or half of the Senate is offset with the other half. So this is going to be interesting, creating a new vacancy election held as part of the district's odd year November coordinated election. Only unaffiliated voters and voters affiliated with the vacating member's political party may vote in the vacancy election. Candidates for the vacancy election are required to submit a nominating statement and sign petition to the Secretary of State. The winner of the vacancy election serves until the next November general election. So very similar to the county commissioner bill, of course, no surprise there, but very interesting bill. I mean, I like the idea that they're increasing the amount of elections. If somebody is vacant, you're giving the people a quicker option to make a decision and still having a vacancy committee pick it in the short term, but that's going to be less amplified, I think, or going to be shortened up. The vacancy committee won't have quite as much power, but also getting county commissioners in there. That's pretty interesting. What do you think, Michael?
No, I agree. I mean, I think it's definitely this is better than what we currently have. I do find it interesting that this bill that both the Kirkmeyer bills, I don't know if you caught this or not, but they specifically mention major party candidates, and that's really what these bills are designed to um, target. So I thought that was kind of interesting, um, especially because of Kirkmeyer's past with the LP and then her retaliatory bill that she submitted during the 23 legislative session to try to attack minor parties because of what happened in CD8. So I find that interesting. But yeah, I definitely think this is better than what we have now.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. I think it is a step in the right direction for sure. I'd be curious what people in the chat have to say. But yeah, they basically create a whole new way for candidates to get on the ballot for a vacancy election. And yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Kind of like it, but yeah, definitely a step in the right direction, I'd say. Let's take a look at the other two or other two here. Um, Ones here. We got a limit election of legislators who fill vacancies. Bob Marshall, Larry Sukla, and Mark Snyder. That's an odd combination there. House committee resolution or House, yeah, 1002. Let's take a look here. House concurrent resolution, sorry. So this bill would, because it's HCR, if you see that, folks, that means it goes to the voters. So this bill would submit to the registered electors of the state of Colorado an amendment to the Colorado Constitution concerning a prohibition on a person being a state legislator for a term of office immediately following a term for which the person was appointed to fill a vacancy in the General Assembly for that office. That's interesting. If approved by a vote of at least 55% of the voters of the state voting on the issue at the 2026 general election, the concurrent resolution prohibits a person from being a state representative or senator for a term of office that immediately follows a term for which the person was appointed to fill a vacancy in the General Assembly for that office. That is very interesting. So if you get appointed to a vacancy committee, you basically have to sit the next one out. You don't get that power or that benefit of being an incumbent. Kind of like that idea. You're appointed. You shouldn't get that extra bonus of now being an incumbent, having kind of that name recognition, being in that situation. Sit one out, and then you can run again. I don't know. I kind of like it. I don't know how far this bill's going to go, but what do you think about this one, Michael?
No, I agree with you. I mean, this is the interesting thing about Bob Marshall. I mean, he's a Democrat, but I mean, occasionally he comes out with something that really surprises you. I particularly his hesitancy, or I should say, outright disrespect of the bill to give $34 million to the Sunset Film Festival if they move to Boulder. I think that's very interesting that he can come out and that Bob Marshall will come out and kind of buck the party, buck the system, buck the establishment. Um, And I know a lot of people give Marshall a lot of grief, but when it comes to um, his stances on gun control, I mean, he has, as far as I've seen, I haven't seen him support any sort of gun control legislation, and and I have to give him credit for keeping true to his words. So I like this one as well. This is another Bob Marshall. This is another interesting Bob Marshall proposition. That being said, I mean, we can talk about 1312 and the party line vote with that, but when it comes to this specific bill, I like it. And it gives the voters the final say at the end of the day, and I respect that.
Yeah, I like that. I think this is a good bill on its face. You know, Representative Sukla's been awesome down there, definitely a real freedom fighter. Of course, not a fan of
Absolutely.
Snyder or Marshall, but they're definitely a little try and play a little more moderate. It's interesting to see the differences of them versus some of the Democratic Socialists down there. You know, they agree on a lot of things, but yeah, there's a little bit of a split in the Democratic Party. So I think it's a good one. I don't know that it's going to make it anywhere. It'll be interesting to see for people to keep an eye on tomorrow down there at that committee. I mean, well, actually, look at all the sponsors on it. You got a lot of people on this bill. You got Snyder, you got Frizzell, Marshall, Sukla, Bacon, Barone, Bottoms, Garcia, Hamrick, Johnson, Joseph, Kelty, Soper, Tatone, Valesco, and Woog. So interesting. This bill, who knows? Maybe it does have some legs. That'll be very interesting to see if this bill does have some legs there. So be excited to keep an eye on that one. Yeah, this is all in this committee tomorrow, folks. The State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. Some very interesting bills. One more bill in this committee having to do with vacancy elections. Let's check it out. This is a bill we've been talking about for a while. Of course, we know Representative Luck is our one of our Liberty leaders down there. Definitely a true fighter. One of the strong Liberty representatives serving in the state capitol. And so I'm sure this is a good bill here. Let's take a look here. We'll go ahead and jump over to that fiscal note just to get a little bit of a better summary here. So this bill has been introduced a long time ago and back in February, and it's finally getting its first hearing. If a central committee of a political party fails to select a committee to fill vacancies of elected offices, the bill requires that the committee be comprised of the party's central committee and all persons elected as delegates to the applicable district assembly. This change applies also to vacancies of a county commissioner and vacancies on the state board of education. The bill reduces from 10 to 6 days the deadline to mail announcements of the time and location of the vacancy committee meeting for county commissioner or for a member of the General Assembly. Lastly, under current law, if a committee filing a vacancy of a county commissioner fails to fill the vacancy within 10 days, the governor fills the vacancy by appointment within 15 days. The bill extends those deadlines to 30 and 35 days, respectively. So pretty interesting. So this bill really just expands who's in that vacancy committee, kind of providing more voices, more engagement from the people in that district, in that community, to have a little bit more of a voice. So not necessarily a bad one. You know, if you're going to be doing a vacancy election, why not expand the pool of people who can be in that vacancy committee? What do you think, Michael?
I agree with you. I'm just disappointed that Stephanie Luck consistently does not get any more support for her bills. She introduces bill after bill after bill, and a lot of times she's the only one who's a prime sponsor on the bill. So it's always disappointing to me because I think she's one of the best individuals down there at the Gold Dome. Yeah, another one, no prime sponsor, no co-sponsor, nothing. So um, yeah, I mean, I agree. If we're gonna, there's a definite change, and I definitely think this would be, if nothing else passes, this would be better than what we've got right now.
Yeah, 100%. So, folks, yeah, if you're interested in vacancy committees, you want to hear the debate, you want to hear the conversation, you can always listen in from the legislative website tomorrow in this House State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee, or show up. If you're down at the state capitol, come say hi. Might poke my head over there, depending on how the other committees are going here. But let's talk about at least one more bill here before we have one of our guests joining us. But so Monday, this is the House Finance Committee. So tomorrow, House Finance Committee, this is the Tabor bills being heard here. House Joint Resolution 1023. And we'll wait to talk to that one until Natalie Menton joins. She's going to be joining us here shortly. But let's talk about 1302 first. Increase access homeowners insurance enterprises. House Bill 1302. Now, folks, when you see an enterprise, your alarm bell should go off. An enterprise is basically a government business where the government can collect fees in lieu of taxes to provide some sort of service or whatever to the state. I don't really think that's it's accurate to call it an enterprise, to call it a business, but unfortunately that's what it is. So check this out. This bill creates two enterprises in the Division of Insurance in the Department of Regulatory Agencies, so DORA. The bill creates the Strengthen Colorado Homes Enterprise, which is a state owned business that imposes and collects a fee from insurance companies. So there you go, folks. Your homeowners insurance is going to have a new fee on it, including the Fair Plan Association that offers homeowners insurance policies in Colorado, which fee is equal to 1.5% of the dollar amount of the premiums that the insurer collects from homeowners for issuing homeowners insurance policies. With the insurer fee revenue, the Strengthen Homes Enterprise Board administers a grant program to strengthen homes against the risk of future damage claims caused by high winds, wildfire, hail, and other extreme weather events. Oh my gosh. By allowing a homeowner to use grant money to upgrade their roof system with certain resilient roof materials. By paying the insurer fee to support the grant program to retrofit homes with resilient roofs, insurers reduce their overall risk in the market due to hail and other extreme weather events. Well, hey, if this was such a good idea, why aren't they doing this on their own? Now, the bill's also going to create the Wildfire Catastrophe Reinsurance Enterprise, which is a state-owned business implementing and administering the Wildfire Catastrophe Reinsurance Program. The reinsurance program makes reinsurance payments to insurers that offer homeowners insurance on properties located in the state to partially mitigate losses in the event of a state or federally declared wildfire related disaster. The purpose of the reinsurance program is to stabilize the homeowners insurance market in the state and to attract and retain homeowners insurers. So there you go, folks. They're going to issue revenue bonds secured by the enterprise, a catastrophe bond, and may impose and collect an insurer fee on insurers to cover a shortfall. So there you go. I mean, we have new fees, a new enterprise, a new government business here that your homeowner's insurance is going to be paying into in order to, um, provide for this little grant money. But we do have our special guest joining here. Any quick thoughts on this one, Michael, before we bring her on?
Yeah, real quick. This is another ridiculous bill. We're already getting taxed and feed to death and already. This is just going to all the not only are they going to be charging you for uh, um these two new enterprises, because remember those are government businesses. They are also going to be uh, uh, that's going to get charged to the insurance company itself. But guess what? The insurance company is going to have to turn around and add this to your premium. So at the end of the day, we're all gonna get stuck with paying more money for our home insurance because of this. And if you're a renter, remember the home insurance is still going to have to affect you. And if a landlord has to pay home insurance, they're going to have to turn around and pay that fee to you as well. So at the end of the day, you're the one that gets stuck with this additional fee because the Colorado legislature has some sort of grand idea that already doesn't work, because if it worked so well, the insurance programs would already be doing this voluntarily.
100%. And so check this out, folks. It's because it's an enterprise, because it's a fee, it's not subject to the Tabor limit. As well, I want to ask Natalie here about how Tabor works to limit revenue. But if you don't know, it does require a certain amount of money to be sent back to the taxpayers if they overcollect. So because this is a fee, because it's an enterprise, we have $47 million in the next budget year, $42 million the years after that of new revenue coming into the state that is not controlled by Tabor, not capped by Tabor. So they can just bring as a limited amount of money in under this program, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So notice there's no change in Tabor refunds, but they just are going to be pulling another tens and tens of millions of dollars out of the private sector for their little grant program, which is going to benefit probably politically connected people, but not common every average day people who are footing the bill for this. So absolute disaster. Bad news, folks. I'll be in that committee hearing tomorrow, so it'll be really interesting to see. But we do have our special guest here. We have Natalie Menton, one of Colorado's taxpayer advocates on the board of the Tabor Foundation, former elected official as an RTD board member. Natalie, thank you for joining us today.
Good to be here.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Natalie, what's going on with Tabor? There's a lot of new people who watch this every week, a lot of people who are new to Colorado. Can you give us just kind of that 30-second sales pitch about what Tabor is, why they're trying to repeal it, and why we need to fight to protect it?
Yeah. Taxpayers' Bill of Rights was put in by the voters through going out getting signatures. Voters approved it when in our Constitution in 1992. So it's been there over 30 years, protecting taxpayers in an umbrella. We were talking about insurance. It's like an umbrella guardian for taxpayers. It protects us. We are Voters have to consent to tax increases. Voters have to consent to debt. Tabor has a property tax cap within it. It has a restriction on real estate transfer taxes. It has a fair and flat, simple income tax system. There are other protections within Tabor, so most people know one or two of those things, especially voters know about their Tabor refunds, which is a part in Tabor which caps government revenue. It allows government to grow at a moderate level that keeps in line with the economy. That's for the state, allowing the government's revenue to grow by inflation plus population. Variety of things. Tabor's been under attack over many years. There have been recent ballot issues, this is notable for testimony, where voters said, we want to keep our Tabor. Now the legislators want to, because they don't like the ballot box results, what they want to do is take it through the legal court, which it's already done that once. They want to take it right now using our taxpayer money to go and sue to overturn our protections. So that was the summary. It was a long elevator ride there, but
Natalie, appreciate hopping on. My first question is why now? Why are they choosing 2025 to completely gut Tabor and completely strip this away from the voters that uh, passed this in 1992?
well, I don't know if, so let me just go after this. Why now? Well, to me, it seems like they go after it about every 2 to 3 years. So they're just right on cycle with, oh, the voters forgot about the last time they turned us down, so maybe they'll do it this time. And um, that also notable is that now they're getting more and more to a position where they can say to the voters in their little campaign spiel, your Tabor refund is only this amount of money. Well, that's because they've taken it from us nibble by nibble, bite by bite. And, we should be going the opposite direction, getting more of our Tabor refund back. So there's no surprise to me. It's just their timed out method, almost like schools. Schools historically will go after a mill levy increase, even though properties continue usually going up and up. They'll do it every 5 to 8 years. The school district will run a tax increase. So when governments, that was, so I guess I'll leave it at that, just so I don't chew up more time. But there was no surprise. And in testimony, it's clear that we should be talking about, instead of saying really frankly to them, you shouldn't be going through the courts, you should be putting it to the ballot. They've put it to the ballot. They've put it to the ballot multiple times. We have said no, whether it was a transportation tax hike, Prop CC, Prop CC. We've got, sorry, I'm all of a sudden skipping the most HH was another attack. So there, it's just their time again, their kind of time of the year to go after Tabor. And this time now, that there was a lawsuit that went on for 10 years to overturn Tabor. It went through the federal courts. So it was called the Kerr versus Hickenlooper case. Kerr versus Hickenlooper was a 10-year run through the courts saying, no, got this wrong, didn't do this right. Finally, people like Andy Kerr, which is the Kerr in versus Hickenlooper, status like him, finally said, okay, we pulled it. And then they've sat and they've rehuddled now after they pulled that case and saying now we're going to go through the state court and they're going to get supposedly a different result. It's a different set of judges. It could occur. We need to be saying in testimony, voters have spoken, and you talk about abiding by the Constitution. There's a bunch of other things within our Constitution that voters put in that also put limits on the legislature. Are all of those things then don't serve the representative government that That their argument, their claim is that they aren't able to serve in a representative position, a republic position. I'm sorry. So, I mean, look at it. I think Brandon and I are going to be releasing a video on this. But if you look at the example, we've got term limits. Voters put term limits into our state constitution. Are they going to say with this Tabor thing that term limits are also unconstitutional? I mean, they just want to shed all oversight, all caps, all kind of limits. And when they talk about Tabor ties the hands of the legislature, no. What Tabor does is ties the legislature to the will of the voters. And that is what we've done. We've spoken out. So I'll stop there because I'm sure there's other questions.
No, definitely appreciate it. I mean, this is so egregious. It's such an attack. And it's so interesting because you see like the protesters out there today, right? Across the country, they're out there and they're saying, keep your hands off all our government programs, Elon and Trump, keep your hands off all of our incredibly wasteful, high cost, big spending programs. And it's so interesting to see that contrast at the national level where, maybe there's finally some recognition at the federal level that the government is out of money, that we are just totally bankrupt. And that reckoning is coming. So might as well start cutting. I know some of the cuts have been really minor, relatively speaking, at the federal level, but they're making cuts, and it's crazy. They cut one little thing, they cut an art program, and there's people protesting out in the streets. That's how crazy things are right now. It's like the country has no money. And then we see here in Colorado kind of an interesting parallel to that, where, thankfully we have a balanced budget amendment. Thankfully we have Tabor. Thankfully we have things that constrains how much money that the state government can take from us, how much they can spend really ultimately, and they're up in arms trying to fight back at that same level. So very interesting. Natalie, what do people need to know about Tabor's origins, I guess? Because we have a question in the chat here, somebody who says, what was the reasoning behind getting Tabor passed in 1982? I know, can you tell us a little bit about that background just briefly in terms of, here we are in Colorado, we have this amazing process to get things petitioned onto the ballot, get signatures, get on the ballot, and have the direct democracy of the voters to create a law, to create amendment like they do with Tabor. So can you tell us a little bit about why it was so important, some of that little bit of that background?
Yeah, the background started in the late 80s. And actually, even before that, when we've had peaks in our time where property taxes, because of values spiking, created a special level of disturbance within the taxpayers and the voters, the people who don't usually keep an eye on the Capitol. A group of people got together and they said, we've got to cap property taxes. And we've just had this conversation recently for those who have been semi-observant. Well, this was occurring back then after one of the spikes. They got together and they said, we need to limit Colorado property taxes and do it like in the California style, which was Prop 13, for anybody who wants to go look it up, but it had a couple different components in it in California's Prop 13. Out here in Colorado, they were saying cap property taxes. Well, a guy walked into this discussion named Douglas Bruce, and he said, wait, if we just cap property taxes, they're just going to come and shift the taxes over to this other area, including fees or including income tax. Let's go after a punitive income tax, where the more productive you are, the more higher rate you should pay because you got to pay your debt to society or some kind of, bizarre thinking. So Douglas Bruce came up with the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, and it was modeled off certain different things learned and proven throughout the country and the world, really different components. But he wrapped it all into one beautiful document. And I actually have the original in a binder sitting behind me here on a shelf that shows it's the minutes from this committee and how they got to that position. So the group had some disagreement. Do we just go after property tax or do we do it comprehensively? Douglas Bruce was the one, I call him the Energizer Bunny. He got it done. And those folks, the petition process is not easy. It is not easy. Even now, it's even harder. Back then, it was hard, though. They went through going out, standing in parking lots through the hot, hot summer for 8-10 hours a day to get signatures from voters. Got Tabor on the ballot twice. Well, the government, of course, oh my God, this was going to close the doors of Colorado and it's going to shut down. And it's the most worst thing in the world and we're going to all explode. And all these kind of scare threats and, scare tactics, all of that. Well, it barely lost in the first round, and it got better, but still lost second round. Third round, it passed. But through that, it was also modified. And that was partly the feedback from the voters going, hey, you're including fees in the original Tabor, because that's a big discussion for people. But it was in there. And they're like, well, how are you going to do a recreational fee or, a towel fee or whatever? Because government gets a lot of fees. And so that was eventually dropped out. So the point of that being, it was very hard work. They had to go out and get the signatures each time. It's not like they got to go, well, we got them last summer, so now we don't have to do it again. Put it on. No, they had to go out again. And we were talking about people who were dedicated. Clyde Harkins, Fred Holden, Douglas Bruce. I'm going to forget the fourth guy's, Doug Campbell. Those were the guys that were out there, doing, and there were volunteers. They didn't have the money to pay $5 per signature, which is kind of a trend anymore now. They got it on there. The voters said, oh, I like it a lot, but not quite. Better version. Third one, beautiful, love it, passed it. So I hope that really gave you a descriptive thing on how we got to where we got to. And again, it's because Tabor has property tax protection in it, income tax protection in it, government overall taxation with a refund generated if over collecting. It's such a beautiful package.
Natalie, I've been racking my brain. This is a amendment to the Constitution. This is therefore, by all means, this is a constitutional amendment. This is a part of the Constitution. How can you my question is, how can you possibly say something that is a part of the Constitution is unconstitutional, particularly when it was passed by ballot measure?
That is a very good question. And it's going to be interesting to see how the court is going to interpret this, because especially if you take in mind our U.S. Constitution is saying these electeds have a right in a Republican form of government to have some level. It's not just like a direct vote thing. You've got elected representatives to serve the voters' will. The first step before you take your seat as an elected, you swear to uphold the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. Constitution. So you take them what the U.S. Constitution is saying, and then compare that to what our Colorado Bill of Rights in our Constitution says. And specifically, important Section 1 and Section 2, which says we're a sovereign state, and through our initiative and referendum, which is Article 5 of Constitution, we have within the Bill of our rights, the right to initiative and referendum. And within it, it is saying that we, the voters, people of Colorado, our rights are sovereign, and we reserve the right to initiative and referendum, about getting those signatures, hard work, getting it on the ballot, and that we have the right to vote on it and establish it. And we have the right to, abolish government in Colorado within our rights. So talk about removing control, these things are established. So I think they're just grasping at straws. And frankly, they're hoping on an unfriendly court within Colorado, not talking federal, but within Colorado court, that we have judges, I'm not going to use the word judges who have misinterpreted Tabor in the past. If they can't read simple Tabor, how are they going to interpret the Constitution? And so this is, it's a concern. Let me just say, one would think it's very logical, very obvious. We have established our rights in Colorado as a state, that there's a concern. And what's really concerning is that because of the way this lawsuit is going to be against essentially we the people, is that the Democrat sponsors, because there is no Republican on this bill as a sponsor, let's be clear about that. None of the Republicans that I know of are going to be voting in favor of suing the taxpayers to eliminate Tabor. So I'm going to say, but some of the Democrats, because not all of them have signed on as sponsors. I've got a list here, which I think is fairly accurate. that that well, the, let's just go this way. One would think that it's going to be very obvious, and that they hope that putting this lawsuit forward with a weak court is going to result in something. And so that is why killing this off right now is going to be very important. Otherwise, it initiates a lawsuit in which these sponsors really are like the plaintiffs in a law case. Right now, they'll be using our public money, our taxpayer money, and directing legislative staff to go out and get legal counsel, an outside lawyer, a law firm, and they'll be really expensive. And right now, the way it's proposing it is we, the taxpayers, would pay for that plaintiff position. Then also, we're the defendant, okay? Because it's the state, so we're really the defendant. Sorry, we're the defendant, and now our Attorney General, Phil Weiser, will be the one using our taxpayer money, essentially, to defend us against this case. And Phil Weiser has gone on the record that he is not a Tabor supporter. So I just ask this. He says he's going to do his job. I have a real difficulty, a very big difficulty, feeling that a man who does not support the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights is going to give it his all to protect us.
Yeah, can't argue with you there at all. It's ridiculous. It's insane. It's like, it reminds me of being a little kid, you're like, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. It's like, these legislators are just beating up the people, and it's insane. It's crazy. We have state representatives, people. This is the takeaway here. This is the talking points. Tell your neighbor, tell your coworkers, tell your friends. We have state representatives who want to get rid of your rights, who want to eliminate the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights Tabor so they can raise as much money as they want, take it from you, steal your paycheck, steal money out of your paycheck, not have to refund it to you, keep as much as their greedy little hands can get, and they want to take away the consent of the voters to make these decisions. And they're willing to sue the people of Colorado, over it. I mean, people need to be livid. This is insane. It's, as bad as Colorado is, Tabor has protected us on so many levels. And if we didn't have Tabor these past 30 years, Natalie, we would be like California. We'd be worse. We'd be like Venezuela, honestly. We'd have refugees leaving Colorado going to Venezuela to live. If you
Well,
ask me, can you speak on that a little bit, Natalie, in terms of how much money Tabor has saved the Colorado taxpayers over the last 30 years? Kind of some of these ideas about what's this big picture that people need to take away from Tabor?
big picture is number one, Tabor allows moderate government growth. It keeps in line with our economy. It does not starve the government. Second, how much is Tabor kept in our pocket or been returned to our pocket? We are roughly $14 million. 14 billion, sorry, 14 billion. Compare that with their shenanigans where they have come in through, well, it goes back with Ref C. Ref C was back in 2005. It was sold as a 5-year timeout from the Tabor limit. They didn't really tell you, voters didn't grasp the small print. Small print was it reset a level, and only beyond that level did we then get Tabor refunds. That was that new cap. Because of that, compared to the, let's say, 14 billion, okay, I've just used round rough figure, close to what it is, but not going to go in the digits. The government has kept $40 billion because of Ref C. So on top of the regular growth that we were giving government, on top of that, they kept 40 billion because of Ref C. Going beyond that, there has been time after time, we've got 10 million here, $20 million there, $100 million. We have got the one that took a chunk of Tabor. Again, going back to whittle down these refunds, and then we'll go, oh, it's only like, $20. Why are you complaining about it? Why you want to keep that? House Bill 1311 from last year, the 24-1311, took half of our Tabor refunds. So the point here is that the government says that they've been starved and they have overspent. That's very clear. They keep claiming about a $1.2 billion deficit. That they expanded the programs tremendously. A lot more full-time employees. programs, a different variety of different things. If you don't mind, we've got like 8 minutes. I want to go into a couple things for those who are watching and going to testify so that they can know, and then a little bit about talking points, if you don't mind. So first of all, this is going to House Finance Committee tomorrow. That committee starts at 1:30, supposedly. I have been going, keeping a close eye on what's been going on the last 2 weeks. Most of these committees are starting late. So anybody who's showing up, don't expect it to start at 1:30 necessarily. And this is why it is actually really good to testify virtually. It just will eliminate frustration for some people. And I'd rather have them less frustrated and continue to show up for hearings, because it's like this Tabor issue. We're on step 1. We need you to be there for all steps 5 that we need you for. But the hearing is supposed to start at 1:30. This is second on the agenda. The bill you were just covering before I came on, which is the FAIR Act, the insurance, 1.5% fee on all premiums, which is going to be another sucking thing sound out of our pockets, is going to be probably quite a bit of testimony. So they've moved Tabor now to the second agenda item, but before that is that insurance bill. So anybody who's coming down, just know you don't have to be there right at 1:30. You can be a little bit late. If you're testifying virtually, hang on the line, watch what they're doing, the proceedings, and you'll know where they're going. Now, for talking points tomorrow, first of all, there's at least one committee member on this House Finance tomorrow, Bob Marshall. I have a good, strong feeling that he will not vote in favor of this. There may be a couple other Democrats. I have a list. I think it's worthwhile just sharing it, and I'll bring it up real quick. In the House, right now, the ones who have not signed on to this resolution includes Shannon Byrd, William Linstead, Megan Lukens, Bob Marshall, Tisha Moreau, Julie McCluskey, Niketa Ricks, and Emily Sirota. Now, a couple of those, about 3 or 4 of those, I think they're just going to sign on as a sponsor later. But Bob Marshall, Julie McCluskey, I think is worth putting some pressure on. Shannon Byrd. Why is that? Because, there's a lot of discussions down there about voter will and not stepping on voters' will. I heard it today. I was down at the Capitol this morning and this afternoon, and they kept mentioning it with the abortion thing, and now we're funding it as taxpayers if this bill goes through. Is that what voters meant? Same thing with Tabor. So for testifying, keep in mind, Republicans solidly are going to be against this. They just need appreciation, support. Talking to Bob Marshall, reasonable on Tabor, been supportive on some recent bills, is supporting taxpayers. Speak to, I know there are some of the Democrats can say that are on and are fiscally understand the protections in Tabor. And I ask you to support the voters' will and don't pass this. There's a lot of other things. I don't want to run too long. I feel like I'm on a clock here. We got 4 minutes left, but main thing is, I know a lot of people want to say they shouldn't go through the court, put it to a vote. Well, the fact, folks, is I don't want another vote. We've done the votes here. We did it with HH, which almost 60% of the voters rejected. Prop CC, 54% of the voters rejected. We've got multiple other examples. The fact is, they need to deal with the budget, stop the overspending, stop adding on more and more full-time employees for programs that are not putting the services in the hands of what people expect. It's the state legislature, again, the Democrats, have a big problem with mission creep. And it's a problem in all levels of government. But it means you're spending money outside of the lanes, creating projects outside of the scope of what government should be doing. They need to be looking at those things. We've got Medicare fraud. They talk about Medicare being chomped, blah, blah, blah. They've added on things. They've got, people coming from other countries now being supported by social services that you and I are funding without any, frankly, well, I don't going to go down in that too much, but let me just say it's the universe or pool of people who are getting government services has been expanding. So I'm gonna stop there. We have a spending problem, not a revenue problem. Going after Tabor, which the voters established and has been challenged multiple times, put on the ballot, also been denied. Stick with what we have told you to do, and that is spend the money on where it's supposed to go, and quit coming at us with these whiny stories and trying to use these tactics to take more and more of our money without our vote.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Definitely well said, Natalie. Really appreciate it. Yeah, there's needs to be so much passion and excitement behind this, and frustration and anger at our legislators who want to do this, who want to repeal it. But yeah, I am glad you listed some of those legislators. If you don't mind, send that over to me or get it, and I'll put it in the chat or get it out to people. And we got to put what pressure we can on these people and really try and get people to turn out and contact their legislators. I know Natalie, you had talked about in our most recent video. If everybody watching this, if everybody out there in Colorado sent an email and made a phone call to your elected representative, to your elected senator, and said, please support Tabor, please support the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. Imagine if they did get hundreds or thousands of emails and calls, at least just to mention it. At least don't let this fly by under the radar. At least put it out there. I mean, it's a bare minimum people can do. Hopefully, people can show up at the testimony tomorrow. I'll be down there. Natalie will be down there. Michael will be down there. We're going to have a lot of people showing up. Please come say hi. It's one of the most important bills we've seen this year. You know, guns are important, protecting children is important, but this is something that was going to make us impoverished. This is something that's going to take money out of our paychecks and absolutely devastate the economy of our state, which I don't, we're all living here. So it's going to hurt us. You know, not everybody has guns, not everybody has kids, but everybody has money. At least you need it, right? So big important there. Any final words, Natalie, before we
Yeah,
let you go here?
there is a lot of value in coming down. So I don't want like everybody say, "Oh, I'm never going to do that." The bill right before the Tabor bill is this thing that's going to charge us a new fee to set up a state insurance fund for those. Frankly, we're all dealing a lot with the hail, but it focuses on wildfires. We're all going to be paying higher fees. So think of it as a twofer. If at least if you come down at the Capitol. Um, the bill 1312 is probably going to be heard because that's what they were doing here on Sunday down at the Capitol today. So the way it's set up in these chambers at the Capitol, you're going to the basement. So hopefully we all fit in for tomorrow. You could go right across the hallway and testify on one, and then jump back to the other, sit there. There's probably going to be a couple other controversial bills. When I was down there today, I noticed on Grant and right around the Capitol, they have bagged off all of the parking meters now. They're reserved for the General Assembly. So some of the street parking that has traditionally been available is not right now. So just plan on a little extra time for parking, but there's still street meters a little further out. There's a $20 paid lot across the street. And frankly, if somebody wants to drop by the Independence Institute and sees a free parking spot, knock on the door, let them ask them, I'm going to testify on the Tabor bill, and I'll have to look that up. But um, those are the things I'm thinking of. And uh, I hope a lot of people will show up, but if people cannot, sign up. Brandon's got, again, the spot where you go and you learn all about testimony. It's an easy way to sign up for the virtual and plan on a 2-minute speech. I don't think we'll get the 3-minute. They're clamping down on everything. I mean, this afternoon, I don't want to spill the beans, but they don't want any chatter from the good elected officials or the citizens any more than they have to listen to. So I won't spoil what Representative DeGraff is going to talk about and what I had to witness today down at the Capitol. But get your 2 minutes in, our grand 2 minutes each, and give it your all. And let's just stop this lawsuit, because the last thing we need to do is be worrying about that on top of everything else we're trying to do and save Colorado.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to talking to you again soon. We'll see you down at the Capitol tomorrow. Now, I'll be doing live
Yes.
tweeting, live posting about the Capitol. We'll do some videos down there. We'll meet with some people. So we'll definitely be getting a lot of coverage. Just follow Free State Colorado on X, and we'll be doing a lot of live coverage down there. So thank you, Natalie. We really appreciate your time.
Yes,
Everybody
thank you,
come down and
Natalie.
see us.
Definitely.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Awesome. Such an important fight. We'll in a little bit we'll bring up that bill again, but we do have another guest joining us. I'm extremely excited to hear what Representative Ken DeGraff has to say about what happened down at the state capitol today. Talk about some of these horrible bills, and really, for me, one of the big questions or the big concerns is how they want to limit debate. I don't know if everybody saw this, but there's this like Rule 16, I think it is, where the majority can just take a little simple vote and then basically just say, "Hey, we're going to stifle debate. We're going to limit debate so that the Republicans can't filibuster, can't slow down the process. And it's absolutely abhorrent that they can't speak for their constituents and actually have their voice heard." So, Representative DeGraff, if you're there, please join us here whenever you get a second. But, Michael, any other thoughts on the Tabor fight while we're waiting for him?
I thought Natalie had a lot of great points. I mean, every single time I was thinking I'm going to ask her this question, Natalie brought that exact thing, that topic up. So she was really on it, and I was excited for her to even give us a list of vulnerable Democrats. So what I wrote down was Marshall, the speaker, as well as Shannon Bird. So if you guys could start tweeting, emailing those three individuals, that'd be fantastic.
Awesome. Well, Representative DeGraff, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, doing great, doing great. Really appreciate you
Good.
joining us here after a long day down at the state capitol. Can you start off? Tell us what happened today. Give us the inside scoop. What was it like down there, and how crazy was it?
It's always crazy, and we'd hoped at the beginning of the year that maybe with the change of election, with the results of Donald Trump's election, that maybe they would tone down the crazy, and the crazy has been flying around like witches on All Hallows Eve, on Halloween. That they are the crazy is out in full force. And of course, that makes sense. They'll they tone it down for election years when they try to look more conservative, because they know the people really aren't on board. And unfortunately, that's a strategy that has worked. And I think what people need to realize is that they do not represent Colorado. They represent an ideology. They represent their ideology. It's a failed ideology, and as you can see from today, they are 100% committed to it and shutting it down any dissent of it. So they are, when you look at the some of the stuff that they poll on, they're, I think it's like only 30% of the Democrats think that they're really on the right track, and their answer to that is just to push harder on that agenda. So they're trying to get through as much of that agenda as possible. I think the overall amendment 79 was like 61% or something like that. So it was, but it was a lie. The fiscal note part says that it would have no fiscal impact on the state, and then there's the next, and then if you read down one more line, it just said, well, there will be no fiscal impact on the state unless we decide to spend more money. And they decided to spend more money today. And on feticide, they really went all out. When that bill was up, and they made it sound like it was for that it was preserving feticide for rape, incest, and health of the mother. I mean, those things were already codified in law with by being allowed at any by well, and the law is clear that it's any means, any reason, any time, up until birth, or even, I suppose, during birth. So it's their priority. But today, so I knew it was the purpose of that amendment was to secure state funding, to circumvent that. And of course, they lied to the Colorado people. And then today, the sponsors were very adamant that the people of Colorado knew what they were doing when they voted for that. And but even, I mean, the way they wrote it is that the fetal harvesting industry will be paid for any procedures in the state. So there's nothing in there about that they would have to show residency. So this is for anybody, and they cite like $800 to $1,300 for a procedure, when we know from talking to say Dr. Wheeler, who used to perform abortions, or conduct feticide, that for a late term abortion you're talking like $30,000. So these are high dollar items. So anybody in the country, any place in the country that is looking for that, I mean, they could, like an employee, to save their medical, they can send them to Colorado. And it was brought up yesterday, the funding mechanism goes basically into the executive budget, and they say, well, that's how Medicare is normally funded, for overruns and all that stuff. So there's really no limit in there at all for how much they're going to spend on feticide in Colorado. Because they don't have to not only be a Colorado resident. There's really nothing that says they have to be a U.S. resident. So it really is an attempt, or to turn Colorado into the fetal harvesting of the capital of the world, or of the country, anyways, if not the world. So I mean, you could $30,000 procedure, you can send somebody, to a spa stay with a first class ticket, and still save money. So it's very disturbing, and I thought maybe that the sponsors would say, hey, at the end, like, that really wasn't true, and they would come up with something that, reason why. And no, Garcia just kind of doubled down, said, well, everybody has a right to an abortion, no matter who they are. And it's like, they didn't even challenge the fact that you don't have to be a Colorado resident. So and that the people of Colorado knew exactly what they were voting for. Basically, there was a little bit, it felt like a little level of gloating, like, oh yeah, they got what they asked for, kind of, it felt like they were kind of proud of the fact that their campaign marketing had worked, and the people of Colorado had been duped into paying for absolutely all things feticide.
So, Rep DeGraff, first off, I appreciate you coming on. My first question is, do you like my pen?
I've seen better. Some maybe a little more clicky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there you
click
go.
it too. I mean, Garcia is the best clicker in my opinion, but
yeah, it was a very clicky kind of pen, so it was entertaining.
very, very. I'm glad you brought up everything going on with Amendment 79 and the repercussions of that. Uh, when it comes to Medicare, the way it's been explained to me, every dollar that the state spends on Medicare, the federal government also spends that money as well to
Okay.
fund Medicare.
Yeah.
With the Hyde Amendment in the U.S. Federally states that abortion dollar, not a single dollar can be spent to fund abortions. So my question to you is, with everything happening down at the Capitol right now, this proposed bill, uh, how much money is projected to actually be lost based on the repercussions of this latest bill that passed on party line vote?
I'm sorry, I don't know that answer. How much funding is there, but it is a real risk. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that. We're tied to Washington D.C. by federal funding. But it would be certainly an ironic thing if, in this case, it's something that brings us back to sanity. But yeah, I suppose they'll say, well, we're not using federal funds at all, but I don't know how you could make the justification that they're not commingled, or that, because whatever dollar goes into the program. So just like with the, we'll have to see, we'll have to see on the, like with the SB 003 with that federal funding as well, because so much of it is, in terms of, who's executing those grants. And so I think all they have to do is say, we think the money's being commingled, and then it's going to be somehow up to us to prove it. And just like with the SB003 funds, it's, there's not an automatic switch to turn it back on. It's so I don't know what's going to happen with federal funding, but the Democrats don't seem to be concerned at all. I suppose with some of the we know from the like the Veritas videos and stuff, the selling of baby parts is pretty lucrative from the sound of it. So I imagine, I don't know, maybe they'll make the argument that they're funding this urgent life care, or everything is an urgent, life-saving care. They like to call everything life-saving care, so it has to be funded by taxpayers. Yeah, maybe they'll make the argument that they're self-funding through the sale of body parts, or not body parts, but in fact whole bodies. So yeah, it's apparently a very lucrative field, and I guess Jared and his billionaire buddies want to make it a growth industry for Colorado.
Insane, absolutely insane. I mean, Senate, we had two of the most extreme pieces of legislation pass out of the state house today, and on a Sunday, and that's pretty odd. It doesn't happen that often. Of course, as we get closer to the end of session, it's more likely to happen because they're trying to rush things through. But Representative DeGraff, why did they want to convene on Sunday and not just wait till Monday?
Well, I think we're finally. I mean, what's our one task? One task is to balance the budget, pass a balanced budget, and we're into April. We've got another month to go, and we're finally getting to our primary job. We're $5 billion in the hole, in the red. The treasurer talked to us the other day. We're probably 100 to 250 billion dollars in the hole as far as infrastructure goes. So we have lots of, and now, as has been said, we don't really have a revenue problem so much as we have a spending problem. We have a prioritization problem. A lot of those priorities, of course, are on the green agenda that doesn't seem to be on the chopping block. The hundreds of millions of dollars spent there, and then the billions of dollars, and however much we lose in severance tax, plus all of the money that we get in those jobs that have been lost. So we definitely have a prioritization problem, and I don't think any of it is accidental. I think as I say from the well, if the outcome is evident, I think the intent is inferred, right? So when these policies, especially when we go up and we say, what you're doing with these policies, it's obvious what's going to happen, and they don't even try to refute it. There's no questions or anything like that. They just pass it anyways, and there's no concern whatsoever for the outcome, as obvious it is. So I don't think the Democrats are representing the citizens of Colorado at this point. I do think their focus is on their ideology and getting as much of it passed as possible.
Rep. DeGraff, can you tell us, can you kind of explain Rule 16 and Rule 14 to us, and exactly what the consequences of those rules being implemented did to you over the last few days?
Well, the Rule 14, and I'm not I'm not super in depth on the rules as some of the others are, but just limited us to 2 hours, and then today on thirds, basically that it limits the Rule 16 just ends the debate. So Rule 14, when we did it the other day, was going automatically into a 2-hour time limit for seconds, because normally on second reading you have on second reading, everybody has unlimited time. And now, of course, not everybody goes down to the well to, but you can go down as many times as you want, because it's supposed to be, you should be having a dialogue. You should be, so you and I could be on, opposite sides of a bill, and I would ask, we would be talking to each other through the speaker, and then the people in the on the floor would be listening to the conversation so they could make their they could make their determination. Of course, that doesn't happen anymore. Most of the time, the Democrats are not even in the on the floor. They're, if they are, they're coloring on their iPads. And then on third reading, each person is limited to 10 minutes. So today was third reading, so they're limited to 10 minutes. And inside of that 10 minutes, you can go to the podium twice. So you could speak for 7 minutes and 3 minutes, 5 minutes and 5 minutes, just you can go up twice as long as you don't go, over 10 minutes. So, and then what I did today is after discussing it, I thought we need to delay, we need to lay this bill over. And so I made the motion to lay the bill over till after session. And now Garcia said that was a trick, we should vote on it and all that. But my hope was that it was contentious enough with the Democrats at that point that maybe they would like an out to not actually vote on the bill itself, but instead to lay it over. I suppose you could do a special session if that's what it took, but it could always be brought back next year. But as you saw, they are dedicated to their ideology. Now, it was complained that I referred with the unlimited Fed-aside and the funding of Fed-aside for everybody, that the Democrat Party is a death cult at this point. And maybe not the entire party, but certainly the elected representatives are signed on board, and they're all about sterilizing kids, they're all about sterilizing adults, they're all about averting births, and if you look historically, averted birth goes hand in hand with averted elderly and averted injury and averted humans in general. So, and then even with averted births, being cited as something to save money, then at some point that becomes, oh, well, a pregnancy is something that can be solved, as opposed to as opposed, and that human can be averted. I don't know how they don't see it. The individual was very upset that I referred to the Democrat Party as a death cult, but I don't know how you get around it. They're all things death all the time. So death to the economy, death to the unborn, death to everything.
Facts are facts.
Facts are facts.
Absolutely wild, absolutely crazy. So the two bills I want to ask you about, and I don't want to keep you too late because I know you got another busy day tomorrow.
I know, of course, it feels like Friday today, like we just got through a long, brutal Friday, and then it's like, oh my word, I've got to go back to the Gold Dome cesspool in the morning.
So we talked about the Senate bill for the taxpayer-funded abortion, Senate Bill 183. The other big bill, of course, that's making national, if not international headlines. It does make me a little bit hopeful that there's so much attention on House Bill 1312, this quote-unquote legal protections for transgender individuals, which they mean transgender children.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that debate went down at the state capitol? Obviously, extremely contentious. For people who don't know, these Democratic bill sponsors want to make it so that in child custody hearings, this is just one aspect of the bill. There's several aspects to the bill, but in child custody hearings, the judge would have to take into account if one of the parents was maliciously using dead naming or misgendering or trying to attack this kid's transgender ideology or whatever, and they want to have that part of the court proceedings so they can take your kid away based on you not going along with this transgender cultism. But can you tell us a little bit? That's just the background for people who don't know, but Representative DeGraff, can you just give us a little bit more insight as to what it was like down at the state capitol having this debate? And is the international or national pressure or exposure, does that have any effect whatsoever down there? Just give us some insider views, please.
Well, this is one that was, I did hear this bill in committee. I was asked to sit on judiciary for this bill, so that was 12 hours of my life I'll never get back. But this bill was Rule 16 today. So it was Rule 16, and then we voted on whether to limit basically end debate and go right to a vote. So there was no debate on this today. So the Democrats on Sunday, on the Lord's Day, on when a large part of Colorado is in church, and then perhaps that's the purpose, and that's something that the church needs to be aware of. There's a lot of these problems that could be solved if the church made it a priority, if the churches made it a priority to represent their values in the House of Representatives, whether that's to get somebody elected or support. I mean, it doesn't have to be from the church itself, but the church as a body definitely needs to get involved, because these battles are, as I'm trying to tell people on emails, that these battles are won in the ballot box. These are not won on the House floor. They think, okay, well, if you guys just argue well enough, you'll be able to beat this, right? And it's like, no, this is not going to be won here. So we did not debate this today on the floor. In the House. So in the testimony, it's primarily an attack on parental rights, and they call what you said is dead naming, just to make sure that everybody knows what we're talking about. You're talking about the birth name. So the name that individual was given at birth, and then they're fed a continual diet of books that you can find at ratedbooks.org, which creates gender confusion. And then their only solution allowed to gender confusion, even for religious counselors. There's an amicus brief going on out now that there's a case where a Christian counselor is required even to affirm the dysmorphia. So if somebody, however somebody feels, that even the Christian counselor is required to affirm that illness, I guess. So we didn't hear that, and so so one of the things that they put in there is that we talked about the Troxel. I think it was the Troxel case, and then and there was a lawyer there, I think it was from Bread and Roses, and they referred to it as their bill, right? If you heard it. So it's like, so they were involved in the making of this bill enough that they took some level of possession over it. And of course they'll have plenty of business from it, because but anyways, coercive control is listed as something. And if you look at, there's two other bills that I have, I have them in this folder, these folders that I have here, but they're listed as abuse. Now it's not technically a crime in Colorado. Coercive control is not a crime in Colorado, but there's about 10 other states where it's either a crime or it's on the verge of becoming a crime. So I wouldn't be surprised after this bill gets through, then you say, well, it's just coercive control. And then the subsequent thing would be to say coercive control is a crime. And now, instead of having two fit parents, you have one who's automatically, one is fit and the other is a criminal. And of course, now the way this bill is set up, it's prejudicial. In 1309, the sponsors talked about repeatedly how, these medical decisions need to be made between the patient, the doctor, and the patient's family. And what 1312 does is it pulls the patient's family out if there's questions. They're not allowed to question. So as long as that family is affirming the transition, then the family can be consulted. But if the family is questioning, like there's a r/d trans Reddit that I found, if like 56,000 subscribers, and they're detransers, and they're talking about their experience, and they're miserable. They're like saying, I'm a freak, I can't go back, you can't undo this stuff, and it's heartbreaking. And the CAS reports are saying, hey, you need to not only slow down, but you need to stop. And the Democrats here are not looking at the CAS report with the tens of thousands of patients that were followed up on and all that. And they're not just doubling down. I mean, they're going exponential in their promotion of this. So the other part of what they did is and I asked the lawyer about this because they were talking about First Amendment rights, and that this is not that dead naming or birth naming. I'm not going to call it dead naming. It's referring to a child as their birth name is discriminatory and therefore not protected by under free speech. So what they've done is they say, well, they first come in and say, well, it's discriminatory. It's discrimination to use this coercive control or to not affirm. Not affirming genital mutilation is coercive control or it's discrimination. Not using somebody's pronouns is discrimination, and therefore it's not protected speech. So I asked their lawyer, I said, well, I think I understand how this goes. Is first you declare it discrimination, and then because it's discrimination, it's not protected speech. And he basically said, yeah, that's kind of how it works. So that's exactly what they've done. So this stuff that they do with the wording, they'll label coercive control as a crime in the near future, and it goes along with last year saying that foster parents not only had to embrace, but they basically had to celebrate and promote any transition activities of any of their foster kids.
It's absolutely disgusting what's going on. I mean, we're seeing a lot of legislators out there that are saying that are promoting a lot of horrific legislation that's going to do active harm, like 1312, for example. We go on and on for hours. I do want to just ask you two quick things. If one, you could give us a brief update on criminal asset forfeiture 1067, and if there's any minds that we could possibly change between now and the committee hearing. And then my last question really is, when we're talking about all these disgusting things that we're seeing, how do we talk to people that might be supportive of a good bill when they just supported such a horrific bill like 1312?
Yeah, well, supported 1312 without any debate, really. I mean, we did have debate for seconds. I think you got to, encourage him to support the bills that you can get them to support, but and wage those battles one at a time. But everybody needs to remember that these battles are won at the ballot box, and they will try to. They will try. Their whole platform is deceit, so they will try to deceive everybody, just like they called like all parent groups with 1312. They said, well, we didn't consult any parent groups because they're all hate groups and Nazis, right? So and KKK is what they referred to them as. So as far as 1067, there's that's still ongoing. I'm not sure if it's going to be this week. There is possibly Tuesday. I'm not really sure how that's going to go, whether we're going to do a vote for it. I think I'm going to push for a vote and put everybody on the record. There is a move towards just hey, why don't we just we don't have time now, so let's push it back and we'll work on it over the summer. So I'm not sure. There was somebody in the close to the Democrat, some people in the Democrat Party that was just stung by this, that a car was stolen off their lot, their car lot, and then used in a crime, and then it was confiscated and then put up for auction. So it's like, yeah, I'll bet you wish you had some innocent owner protection now. So I've gone through everything. So yeah, writing to the Democrats, even to the Republicans, I'd say everybody that's on the Judiciary Committee should be pleaded. To do that, and I can send you the sheet that I did that shows the cross references, and really everything in the old law is there except for the loopholes, and what else is there is the innocent owner protection. The way the prosecutors refer to it is that we currently have innocent owner protection, but it doesn't occur until after conviction. So after conviction in the penalty phase, and then before that, before everything is divvied up, then they determine if somebody's an innocent owner. Well, last year the police testified that they can't wait long enough for the property to be transferred over. So that means that people who are innocent owners are having to wait an inordinate amount of time in order to prove that, maybe that vehicle is theirs. So that would mean they've gone, if the cops are having to wait 2 years to get the property, that means a innocent owner would have to wait 2 years in order to get their property back. And the other one is the other part is receipting, and that is just two of the witnesses testified that the police came in, they took a bunch of their stuff. One of the representatives, her dad had $200,000 worth of coins taken and never gotten back. So these things get taken and they don't get receipted. They never go into the actual civil asset process. So there's good things in the civil asset forfeiture process that we have now that are some safeguards. But if that material doesn't get into the system correctly, it just ends up being disposed of as abandoned, whether that's sold or thrown away. I don't know, but it's not in the proper process.
Wow. Absolutely crazy. Well, any final thoughts, anything that people need to know, Representative DeGraff, anything that you want to get out there? We have a really great audience tonight. A lot of people are going to see this video. So, we'll let you get back to your evening. Really appreciate you taking the time after a long day at the Capitol. But give you the final word here.
What people need to realize, again, I've said it several times in this, is that these battles are won at the ballot box. They are not going to be won right now. So what we're trying to get out is really is education. What we need people to do is to share the education, and keep contacting the Democrat Party, but realize that the only way to get Colorado back is to unseat Democrats. As long as there are Democrats in those seats, especially in a majority, your rights. All of these things should be very telling about who the Democrats are. They don't want taxpayers to have a bill of rights. They want you to be tax-paying widgets. That's all they see you as, the tax-paying widgets. If they let you live, their favorite humans are averted humans, the only people that they think should have guns are criminals and the government. So they're not changing. The leopard can't change his spots. They are who they are, and everybody needs to recognize that this is who they are. They are anti-free speech. They are anti-self-defense. They are anti-America at the very, very core of their being. So we need everybody to, start knocking on doors, start educating people. In 2026, we need a massive turnout because they're not even in the room to listen to an argument, and they will not be swayed by the argument. So even if they agree with us, they will vote with their caucus. So everybody needs to realize that this is who they are. They will not change except to deceive you. So the only way to get Colorado back is to unseat the Policites.
Well said, sir. Well, really appreciate your time. Thank you for all you do. You're a true fighter. Get a lot of great comments here in the chat. So thank you for everything. Everybody in the Liberty community in Colorado really appreciates all your efforts. So thank you, sir. Please keep us up to date for any other interesting information in this session.
Excellent. Thanks for all you do, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate everything you're doing out there at the Capitol.
Thank you. All right. We'll see you out there tomorrow, I think.
Perfect. We'll see you tomorrow.
Then.
Perfect. So, wow, great information there. I just love that line that the battle's really won at the ballot box. Good stuff for sure. I'm really fortunate to have Representative DeGraff down there at the state capitol, and look forward to his efforts continuing in years. Definitely one of our Liberty leaders, one of our fighters for sure. So, what do you think, Michael? What's your takeaways from that?
I was as excited as I could be as soon as I found out we were getting Rep DeGraff on, and he sure did not disappoint. He's a spark plug. I love listening to him every single day down at the Capitol. Just take it to these as he says polar sites. I love that line.
He's got so many good lines, so many little taglines, one-liners. I think we should have T-shirts made that say "tax-paying widget," and we should all just go
Yes.
down to the state capitol with the tax-paying widget T-shirts. I think it's hilarious.
And then we can
So,
buy them at Free State, Colorado.
hey, there we go. Yeah, awesome. Well, don't go anywhere, folks. We have an amazing show so far. We're gonna fly through some of the other bills being heard this week. Does that sound good to you, Michael?
That sounds great. Let's do it.
So perfect, folks. So we're going to talk about some of the other bills being heard in committee. Now, these are bills maybe you never heard of. Maybe they're not even in the news. These are bills that are being voted on this week. So let's get back to Monday, April 7th. This is the House Finance Committee. Of course, we talked about this insurance enterprises. I know somebody in the chat was asking, how do we defeat that? Homeowners insurance has gone up. It's skyrocketed. I saw Mike Dickerson in the chat say that. My homeowners insurance has increased this year as well. So if we can do anything to stop 1302, if you're down there already, folks, for the Tabor bill, you can speak on that. But let's just pull up the Tabor bill for people here. So this is what a lot of us are going to be down there at the Capitol for is House Joint Resolution 1023. This would require the General Assembly to hire a lawyer to retain legal counsel to file a lawsuit on behalf of the state legislature against the people of Colorado to try and determine if Tabor is constitutional or not. As Natalie said earlier, they are not going to go to the voters because the voters like Tabor. We love getting our tax money back. We love low taxes. But this is huge, folks. This is insane. You got to look at the list of all the bill sponsors. It is almost all of the Democrats. Natalie had a good list of the ones that aren't on here. But how insane is this? Almost every single one of the Democrats in the state House and a good chunk of them in the state Senate are supporting this position. And it's a really simple resolution. It's only a couple pages long, but they basically say that the that Tabor, which is Section 20, Article 10 of the state constitution, is depriving the state of a Republican form of government. It's absolutely insane. They think the state government should have more power, that they should not be restrained by Tabor, by the will of the taxpayers. It is absolutely and utterly insane. These people want to steal every penny you have. So, folks, this is the biggest bill of the week for sure. Get down there in the finance committee tomorrow, Monday, 1:30 p.m., April 7th, House Committee Room 112. So that first floor, as Natalie said, there's another committee room right across the way. So it's a good opportunity to speak on multiple bills if you're looking to get down there and make the most bang for your buck. But just real quick, Michael, any other thoughts on 1023?
If you can get down there, make sure to listen to what Natalie said, and just make sure you focus on those talking points. I think Natalie was did a phenomenal job just informing us of what we need to be talking about when we go down there on Monday afternoon.
Yes, it's going to be huge. So let's keep looking at that same committee. Now, this one really angers me. Obviously, they've been coming after our guns. We've seen some of the worst anti-gun legislation in Colorado history. Of course, Senate Bill 3 being the worst gun bill ever. But look at this, folks. Not only do they want to take away guns from just regular citizens, but they also want to regulate private security officers. So you can see this ideology of total state control, of total ownership of our society. They don't want anybody to be able to defend themselves, to be able to protect themselves unless they have government permission. This is a sickening bill. House Bill 1262, regulate private security officers and agencies. So we've talked about it before, so we won't spend a lot of time. But basically, they're going to create a new Private Security Services Board in the Department of Regulatory Agencies, DORA, to regulate individuals and businesses that provide private security services. Starting August 1st, 2026, to provide private security services in the state, you must get a license, you must get registration, and then only licensed commercial security officers may be authorized to carry a firearm. So they got to get a bond issued weapon endorsement. Law enforcement officers who are certified by the Peace Officer Standards and Training Board are exempt from the licensure and weapon endorsement requirements. They're going to create fingerprinting, training, minimum age requirements, registration, all of this BS garbage to totally try and control and prevent anybody from being a security guard. They don't want people to protect themselves. This is insane. This is also being heard in that House Finance Committee tomorrow, folks. So if you're down there at the state capitol, look at all these bills being heard in this committee. You could show up, and maybe you haven't shown up yet. Don't feel bad about that. People are busy. But if you show up for one, hey, there's at least 5 bills here that are important from a liberty perspective that you can have a voice on. So another bad one. Any other thoughts on this one, Michael?
Real quick, can you pull two things real quick? Can you pull up the fiscal note? I just want to see how much this is going to cost and how many FTEs might be added. Um, yeah, 2.4. The next look at the out year and here 26, 27. Another 14.8 FTEs, another $2.3 million. Absolutely asinine bill. Something we clearly do not need, but they're going to use this as an excuse to um, pull more Tabor. Yeah. Look, $2.066 million. So, um, absolutely asinine how much money they're trying to take from our Tabor. And here's the other question: if the Tabor bill passes, that money is not even going to be there for them because it's just all going to go to the general fund anyway. So I mean, where are they going to pull it from if they can't pull it from Tabor? Another absolutely ridiculous bill that we need to oppose. And if you're already down there, let's load these people up. Let's make them really pay for trying to pull what they're trying to pull and sign up to testify on all these bills. That would be huge. If you're going to go down there, let's punish them as much as we possibly can and sign up for every single one of these bills to testify on.
100%. Now, just to give people a little bit of background, this bill did pass the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, is on the Finance Committee. So it's making its way through, but there's still some good opportunity to speak out against it and have a voice. Get people involved in this one, folks, especially if you're in that private security field. So, in the same committee, in the House Finance Committee here, appropriate use of prison beds. Appropriate use of prison beds. Just wanted to bring this one up. All of these titles to all these bills don't necessarily mean what they say, but they want to make appropriate use. How wonderful for Chad Clifford and the Senadora Julia Garcia Gonzalez there to save us some money. And how are they going to save us some money? By taking people out of prison. It's expensive to keep people in prison. It's expensive to keep people on these prison beds. So here they go. Here's their cost-saving method to release more people into the community who otherwise would be in jail. So I mean, it's insane, folks. You can't make this up. Let's just take a quick look at the fiscal note. We still have a lot to cover, so we won't spend too much time. But the bill requires a court determination that incarceration is the most appropriate course of action for class 5 and 6 felonies. It changes parole considerations for low risk offenders and amends statute around drug programming for parolees to reflect current practice. So basically, folks, they want to just say, hey, listen, let's let the courts, let's let these Soros DAs and these judges that go to all our campaign events make the decisions if they're going to let these people out. And, maybe they don't need to send them, maybe it's only a class 5 or class 6 felony or a level 3 or level 4 drug felony. The court will have to find that incarceration is the most suitable option given the facts and circumstances. So, it's the opposite of kind of a mandatory minimum. They want to say, hey, well, maybe you should just let them out. Maybe they shouldn't be in jail. So there you go. We won't spend too much time in it, but if you're interested, folks, dig into House Bill 1214. But of course, don't get me wrong, I'm a libertarian. I don't support overcriminalization of society. But the point we're at in Colorado, trying to get more people out of prison doesn't seem like a great idea. What do you think, Michael?
No, I completely agree. I mean, people who commit nonviolent crimes like Tina Peters, for example, uh, should not, and you could even argue that that wasn't even a crime. She was a whistleblower. She exposed the gold standard, as our good friend Rep DeGraff would say. So why is she in jail when the other people like this might be getting out scot-free for for something that was a violent crime like a auto theft, for example? You should not be getting out early just because they want to make some sort of woke um, virtue signal. When we are already I believe the 43rd most dangerous no, we're the seventh most dangerous state in the entire country.
Wow, check this out. The bill directs the executive director of the department to notify the sentencing court that a person sentenced to prison for certain lower class felonies is either passed or within 90 days or less of the person's parole eligibility date. So they're going to let him out early. The bill adds certified recovery residences to the list of possible treatment or recovery options for parolee. The bill eliminates the requirement that a parolee who tests positive for drugs or alcohol must pay for any treatment program ordered as a new condition of parole. The bill repeals provisions that require approval by the majority of the members of the State Board of Parole for the denial of parole to certain low or very low risk inmates. The bill replaces these provisions by creating a presumption. They're going to presume that certain low or very low risk inmates who have reached their parole eligibility dates will be granted parole. The bill also requires the state board to provide a monthly report to the department of the status of hearings for these low and very low risk inmates there. So there you go, folks. Before they had to have a majority of people on the state board of parole to let them out. This says, nah, let's just let them out. We don't need a majority. Well, I mean, like, was this a problem? Why, if they're really, was the majority just not doing it? But I don't know. It just keeps going. But anyways, interesting there. Take our guns away, let the prisoners out of jail a little bit early. So that's crazy as it is, huh, Michael?
I agree. This is just getting absolutely psychotic. I can't wait for the next election so we can really boot these people out.
So one more in this committee, folks. This is a big committee on Monday. This is a bill we did talk about previously, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. But House Bill 1303, funding for motor vehicle collision prevention. So we already talked about them increasing your home insurance. Well, this bill is going to increase your vehicle insurance. So if people didn't know, just briefly, they're going to create another enterprise, a government-run business. And they're going to require insurance companies to charge you more money to cover the cost of this new program that's going to go towards vulnerable road users. That's right. They're going to give grants out to their little mass transit buddies and nonprofits and these little private entities who are going to help reduce motor vehicle collisions with vulnerable road users. So your divided bike lanes, all your little garbage that makes life much more difficult to drive, they're going to make you pay for it through your vehicle insurance fees. So this is insane. It's absolutely insane, folks. Your car insurance is only going to increase because of this. And folks, like Michael was saying, you got to pay. We got to remember all this. We got to write it all down. We have to put all this in paper and remember how these people vote come next election. But what do you think about 1303, Michael?
I think it's an absolute disaster. We've been hearing about this one for a long time, and I know that they initially pulled one style of bill off the um, they pulled one bill earlier that was similar to this, and we were hearing for a long time that it was going to come back. This is that bill to protect vulnerable users. We don't need this bill. This is absolutely absurd, and it's at the end of the day, this is just the Denver metro region trying to impose its will on the rest of the state.
Yep, they're going to pull out $20 million out every year out of our state economy to fund it towards these mass transit or bike lanes or whatever the heck it is. And of course, everybody's going to have to pay it through their car insurance. So insane and pure insanity, folks. That's all in the House Finance Committee tomorrow. Five big bills, five important bills. Moving on to Tuesday, we did talk about House Bill 1067 about Rep. DeGraff's criminal asset forfeiture. Won't spend a lot of time on that, but amazing bill. This bill would eliminate civil asset forfeiture, replace it with criminal asset forfeiture, which would mean people would have to actually be convicted in a court of law before law enforcement could steal their property and use it for their own little purposes there. So amazing bill. It's been delayed. It's been pushed out. Unfortunately, Representative DeGraff did not really sound too hopeful. He, basically said, let's get everybody on a recorded vote and move on from there because that's kind of where it's going." So a little disappointing, unfortunately. But folks, this is an issue that Rep. DeGraff has been a leader on. He pushed it last year, and yeah. I mean, he's still holding out hope on this one, but this is going to be Tuesday in the House Judiciary Committee, folks. If these are people you can reach out to, these are people you can talk to. Tell those committee members in the House Judiciary to support House Bill 1067. Any other thoughts, Michael?
I would just say this: we live in such a democratically controlled state that I do think that there is a pathway through. If we could reach out to the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee, if it's not this year, then next year, and Democrats over the summer, and really try to push how this would be good this would be a good bill from a criminal justice standpoint. I know over the last few years we've heard a lot of talk about criminal justice reform from the Democratic Party. So if we could show them how this is a good criminal justice bill, I think we can get this one over the hump. So That would be my request of everybody, is to reach out and talk to these Democrats specifically about how this would be good from a criminal justice standpoint. And as we've talked to Rep. DeGraff in the past, this is a phenomenal bill from a constitutional standpoint. So reach out to Republicans and make them aware of how good this bill is from a constitutional standpoint and how it protects your rights.
100%, 100%. So also in the House Judiciary Committee on Tuesday, an interesting bill. We won't spend a ton of time on it, but it is an anti-gun bill, I would say. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I have no sympathy for people who steal cars. I think that grand theft auto is a serious crime, and those people should be punished to the full extent of the law. But hey, if you're out of jail, if you've served your time, and they deem you safe enough to release into the community, I think you should have your Second Amendment rights restored. I think it's totally unconstitutional and wrong to say that somebody who has paid their debt to society, who has already served in jail and is now released, loses their gun rights for their life. That is absolutely insane to me. So this bill from little bootlicker Bosnecker there in Shannon Bird would add motor vehicle theft in the first, second, and third degree to the list of violations that prohibit a person from possessing a firearm. Would love to see what people have to say in the chat about this one, but any quick thoughts on this one, Michael?
Just quickly, uh, yeah, reach out to Shannon Bird on this one. This is absurd. Didn't mean to make that rhyme. Uh, yeah, just reach out to Bootlicker and Bird. Just let them know that this is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if this were, let's say, for example, voting rights, they someone would be have their voting rights restored as once they finish parole, so or got out of prison. So, same thing with this one. There's no reason somebody should lose their gun rights just because they committed a crime and they served their time and did what was right by the law. So they should be have their full rights restored as citizens of Colorado.
Yeah, completely agree. 100% there. 100% there. Completely. Moving on, another bill being heard in that same committee here, House Bill 1276. This is a bill we've talked about before. Of course, one of our least favorite legislators there, Matt Soper, sponsors this. It's so unfortunate. I do believe, and I'd love to hear what other people have to say, that I think this guy's really a Democrat. He just plays as a Republican because he's in a red district. I mean, if you look at his votes, if you look at all the things he supports, he might as well be. I don't see a major difference between him and a lot of the Democrats, except for a couple things. Don't get me wrong, Senate Bill 3 and others, important bills. But when it comes to stuff like this, it's just, I don't know. But, anyways, interesting bill here. So basically, a lot going on with this one. Let's pull up the fiscal note here. So, just really quickly, under current law, court must issue a personal reconnaissance bond, so a PR bond. For those reasons, this bill would allow court to issue a monetary bond in these cases when the defendant has previously failed to appear in court proceeding two or more times. So I think that's a good thing. That's a good start to the bill here. The bill also removes the current prohibition on monetary bond for petty offenses if the petty offense is for theft, criminal mischief, arson, or comparable municipal offense. So I think this is good, actually. If a defendant is charged with a different petty offense or a traffic offense or a municipal offense without a state analog, the monetary bond is allowed. And if the defendant has failed to appear at least three times and is in their pending case, so there, the failure to appear only applies if a court does this, this, and this. But of course, there's big issues. We've seen the opposite bill this year, where they want to basically let people not suffer any penalties whatsoever if they don't go to their court hearing. I think PR bonds, on many cases, it's so unfortunate. We've seen people who have committed sexual assaults, who've committed serious property crimes, get out on personal reconnaissance bonds. So the fact that maybe this would limit some of that could actually be a good thing. I don't know. Any thoughts there, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, some of it's pretty good. I'm concerned that they would that they would get rid of some of it for things like arson, for example. I mean, that is going to be that's actual a that is damage to someone else's private property, theft, that's stealing somebody else's property, stuff like that. So I mean, I definitely think that they should be um if somebody were to be out on bond and they were to fail you know not fail to if they were to receive a failure to appear, I think it would be justified for somebody to um, um, receive due punishment for something like that. So they're clearly not showing because at the end of the day, those are something that you consider a violent crime.
Yeah, fair point. There's some serious issues there with a lot of what's going on this year, but that definitely seems to be one of the better bills related to that issue
Mhm.
specifically. Looking also jumping over to Wednesday, folks. So we've talked about the smart meter opt-in program. This bill's still making it through. I don't know if other people out there have such negative opinions of smart meters as myself, but I like the idea that that you need to have some sort of opt-in program. They can't just install a smart meter if you've already opted out, that they'd have to get some sort of approval from you. So just looking briefly here, the bill requires a utility that deploys smart meters on or after September 1st, 2025 shall submit a customer communication plan to the PUC before December 31st. Must include all this information here about communicating with residential customers before the installation on their property, communicating with the residential customers regarding their right to not have a smart meter installed. So they did amend this bill. I don't think it's quite as strong as it was originally. But unfortunately, unfortunately, it was a lot stronger. You can see all the crossed out lines here, but it is still a good bill, I think. It's a little bit weaker, of course, as often happens, but good bill being heard this Wednesday, House Bill 1175. Do people out there like smart meters? I don't. I don't want a smart meter. So anything that kind of limits the public utilities from installing a smart meter in my mind is a good thing because they are monopolies, folks. They're public monopolies. We don't really have a choice with who we can use the way the laws are set up. So any other thoughts on this one, Michael?
No, I agree. If somebody wants to opt in, they should be allowed to opt in. But at the end of the day, what they've kind of done is they've eliminated a lot of choice for the consumer, particularly on a when it's a public monopoly. As you say, it's getting late, sir.
I know. Really appreciate everybody hanging out with us here. We got one more bill being heard this week, and this is an interesting one. I know Representative DeGraff had talked about this one previously. Uh, House Bill 1266, bill here, the Colorado American Indian Recognition Day. Now, American Indians, great, love them, would love to have them have a day. But of course, as you can guess, folks, what day did they pick? What day did Lorena Garcia, Katie Stewart, Jesse Danielson decide that should be the Colorado American Indian Recognition Day? Can anybody out there guess what day that would be? The second Monday in October. The second Monday in October, traditionally Columbus Day. So, of course, the state many years ago basically erased Columbus Day from our history at a government level at the very least. And now they're like, well, let's actually make it the Colorado American Indian Recognition Day. Let's go ahead and erase our history there. So, of course, these people want to rewrite history, want to totally overturn the past. Representative Graff had previously said, yeah, let's create a different day. Give them their own day. Why do they have to have a day that they're just taking from somebody else? I mean, they give it their own day and they can have a day any day they want, but just why not let them have a day that's different than Columbus Day? But what do you think, Michael?
No, I agree. It's ridiculous if this were another day that if it was just a different day, it would be way better than just trying to steal another holiday just because some woke progressives don't like Columbus Day. It's absolutely absurd. I mean, say what you want, Columbus wasn't might not have been the greatest person ever, but what he did was absolutely phenomenal, and that's the point of Columbus Day was to recognize the fact that Columbus was the one to come to discover America, and what that truly detailed for the rest of the world and the Western world from that point on.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I mean, totally agenda driven, right? So, folks, those are
Hmm.
the bills being heard this week, bills we've identified. Now, don't get me wrong, the schedule can change, things can be added. They can add things to Friday, they can add things to Saturday. There's a lot of things that can change. So, really follow on social media, Free State Colorado, LPCO, and we'll keep you up to date the best we can. But there are some bills we've been watching this year. So stick with us, folks. We're not done yet. We're going to go through some of the bigger bills that are of importance to liberty minded individuals that Coloradans should be paying attention to. We've been tracking these bills all year. We're going to give you the latest update on where they're at here. So, how does that sound, Michael?
That sounds great. Let's get into it.
Perfect. We'll fly through these folks because it is already 9:30. How about every other slide, Michael? I'll start with the first one, then you can jump on that one.
Let's do
Okay,
it.
so 1067, criminal asset forfeiture. Talked about that. Tuesday, House Judiciary, 1:30 p.m., House Committee Room 107. Senate Bill 20, the tenant and landlord law enforcement. This is where the Attorney General is going to turn into a landlord enforcement agent, basically going after landlords trying to protect tenants. Did pass the Senate, of course, now onto the House. No doubt that it'll pass there, but bad one for sure.
All right. House Bill 1006, School District Solar Garden Lease Term. We talked about this one and how this is basically going to be an excuse for places like Jeffco schools who have the worst public school district in the country, as per libs of TikTok, and I completely agree. This one is going to be set to be heard on on the floor of the House on April. This was supposed to be
It's
heard
today.
today.
I
So,
think they laid it over, if I'm not mistaken, until tomorrow.
yeah, I was going to say I hadn't heard much about that one yet. So, the next one is Senate Bill 79, Colorado Vending Digital Assets Act. That's the one where they're going to modify how you can, pull Bitcoin from an ATM, et cetera. That's going to be heard in the Finance Committee on Monday, the 14th, 1:30. And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Nope. Go. Yeah, you're good.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that one's gonna be heard on Monday the 14th, so not tomorrow, but the week after at 1:30 p.m.
Perfect. Interesting bill here. We had Representative Carlos Barron and Senator Pelton on previously. House Bill 1127, their bill to allow the registration and driving of surplus military vehicles. That did pass two committees. It's on to appropriations. It's been a little stalled out there. So we'll see if it makes it through this year. Definitely not a priority for the Democratic majority, that's for sure. House Bill 1113 to limit turf to ban grass in a new residential developments, aka high density housing areas, apartment complexes, multifamily properties. They want to prohibit people from having grass there because of running out of water. And yet at the same time, they're forcing high density housing across communities in Colorado that don't want it. That was supposed to be heard today, I believe was laid over. We'll keep an eye on that one.
Senate Bill 131 reduced the cost of housing. This one was introduced in the Senate, and it's going to be assigned to the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee. House Bill 1100 requirements for filling certain vacancies in office. That is going to be heard tomorrow at 1:30. We talked about this one a little bit ago.
Yes. Yes, moving on here, we got House Bill 1247, the county lodging tax expansion, allowing counties to create new taxes on hotel rooms, basically to create more affordable housing. Was supposed to be heard today, I believe, was laid over as well. House Bill 1239, the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act. There's actually some incredible testimony from the Republicans on this one last week when they were fighting it a week ago in the House. It did pass through the House, of course, now is in the Senate. Hey, Senate might be a little able to temper this a little bit, but of course they want to go after businesses that are quote unquote discriminating, like Jack Phillips, who didn't want to bake the cake, or what's her name, the lady who did the web designing on the wedding, didn't want to do one for a same-sex marriage based on her own personal beliefs. They want to totally beef up Colorado's anti-discrimination laws to target businesses.
We just talked about this one a little bit ago. Smart meter opt-in program, House Bill 1175, going to be heard Wednesday the 9th, and Transportation Energy at 1:30 p.m. And then House Bill 1209, marijuana regulation streamline, passed the House on the Senate and will be heard in the Senate Finance Committee on next Tuesday, not this Tuesday, April 15th at 2 p.m.
Regulate private security officers. We talked about that being heard tomorrow in the House Finance. House Bill 1291. This is the ride share regulation bill, basically creating, like, you have to have live streams, you have to have like live cameras recording everything in the Ubers and the Lyfts. There has to be video registration, like, social, like crazy stuff, basically to try and protect people from using these ride shares because nobody's able to own a gun anymore or protect themselves. They don't want people protecting themselves. That's the role of the government, right? So House Bill 1291, bad bill being heard on the House floor this Tuesday. Really hope we see some great floor speeches from our Liberty leaders down there pushing back on this one.
Senate Bill 5, this is basically the bill to essentially ban right to work in Colorado. It's going to be heard in the House. It's already passed the Senate. It's going to be heard in the House on the April the 8th, which is going to be this upcoming Tuesday. The next one is Senate Bill 72, regulation of kratom. We talked about this one. We had a lot of concerns with the regulation of kratom, and it's assigned to appropriations, and we don't have a date yet with this bill.
Yeah, it's stalled out there. Hope it dies in appropriations. That would be
Absolutely.
great. Senate Bill 201. This is Paul Undine's bill. You may have seen this on the news. Basically, to require age checks for online sexual materials. They did this down in Texas, where in order to use get on a pornography website, you'd have to verify your age. This is the one where the guy was saying like you could hold your hand up and they could tell how old you are, do something like that. Of course, I'm concerned about digital ID. I'm concerned about any type of government trying to restrict our ability to use the internet. Don't get me wrong. I don't want kids getting on pornographic websites. Nobody does. I can't imagine anybody would want that. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes, but obviously some serious concerns from a First Amendment, privacy, Fourth Amendment, all those different perspectives, right?
Yep. Parents
House,
need to do a better job.
right, right. House Bill 1312, the protections for transgender individuals, passed the House, now into the Senate.
House Joint Resolution 1023. We talked about this one. Make sure you get down there tomorrow to raise your voice on your concerns with them trying to steal your Tabor rights. House Bill 183. We also talked about this one with Rep. DeGraff and our concerns with this one, with them trying to fund abortions for the entire country through our tax dollars. Passed to the House. It's on to the Senate, or it's yeah. Wait, yeah. This one is this one on the polis or is this back to the Senate?
I think it has to go back to the Senate because there were amendments, if I'm not mistaken. I
Okay.
know I at least looked at that. So I think there's amendments. It's got to go back to the Senate, but then it'll probably go to Polis. So yeah, no shock there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that one's going to go back for sure.
So here's a new bill this week, folks. Senate Bill 276, protecting civil rights immigration status. So this is the Democrats' attempt to try and protect illegal immigrants even more here in Colorado, more sanctuary state protections. So we'll keep an eye on this one. It was just introduced on the 4th in the Senate. So just literally 2 days ago, this bill just was just introduced, just barely starting to make headlines. So we'll keep an eye on this. Maybe it'll be heard later this week. So keep an eye on Senate Bill 276 if you care about the immigration issue. Another bad one that just popped up on the 4th is House Bill 1321, support against adverse federal action. So, of course, the fact that all these Democrats are upset that Trump's cutting money coming to Colorado and all these different agencies, this and that. So, what is the state government going to, what are these state Democrats going to do? They're going to say, hey, let's use taxpayer money. Let's put taxpayers on the hook to create legal action against the federal government because we have to protect our state, from all this infrastructure, all this, money coming into our state of Colorado. Trump's cutting it off and we need to go sue him. So that's why House Bill 1321 exists. Absolutely horrible, horrible stuff, folks.
And one thing I want to point out here is there's only, as of tomorrow, there's only 30 days left in the legislative session, which is good news, but it's also bad news because we're going to see a lot of tricks. You're also seeing a lot of these bills. We didn't even know, for example, 1312. We didn't even know about 1312 as of last week's live stream, and we see it's already passed through the House. So we're going to see a lot of more sneaky and shady stuff over the next couple weeks. So be very vigilant of what's happening and always be ready to make a fight that you did not necessarily have to think that you're going to have to fight. This one, Senate Bill 73, Revenue Classification, Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. This is going to go to the House Committee of Finance and refer unamended to. This one was, excuse me. This one will go to the House Committee on Finance, refer unamended, and it was referred to an amendment to appropriations. The Senate Bill or House Bill 1287. Social media tools for minor users and parents. House Committee on Health and Human Services is announced. It passed there, and now it's going to be referred to. Or it's referred amended to appropriations. Excuse me.
Yeah, two bad bills for sure.
Yes.
House Bill 1303, funding for motor vehicle collision prevention. We talked about that being heard Monday. Here's that bill on the K vehicles. I think people were saying it was called Key or K vehicles. House Bill 1281, the little Japanese trucks that did pass in finance is now into appropriations. So, but that's been at least a week now. So let's hope this one makes it through. House Bill 1281, a good one. So that's what we got there, folks. And we'll just very briefly go through all the bills that have passed so far this year and all the bills that have failed so far this year. How does that sound, Michael?
Sounds great.
Perfect. I'll start and we'll just rotate again there, switch off. So unfortunately, when the anti-gun show bill, of course, House Bill 1238 did pass. It is on to the governor. I don't think he signed it yet. House Bill 1203, misbranding cultivated meat products as meat. So they have to label, sell cultivated meat separately, did get passed, is on to the governor.
House Bill 1093, limitations on local anti-growth land use policies, was sent to the governor, and the governor has signed it. So that is now law. Senate Bill 86, protections for users of social media, was unfortunately passed on to the governor. Our only option is to hope that he's vetoes this, and I do not think he's going to veto it at this point.
Originally, he was. This is the one. Hannah, the Libertarian Party chair, was in committee, testified against this bill. The governor had a spokesperson there who said they were going to veto it. Now, the bill's been amended. So, did they address the governor's concerns enough to have him? Governor Polis is good buddies with all the social media or with some of these big internet people, right? He's an internet guy at that internet company. So, he's, on board with protecting a lot of these internet companies. So, we'll see. He might veto Senate Bill 86. I really hope so. I don't know who's still watching this, but I did get in some hot water this week with trashing. I basically called out the Republicans in the House that voted for this bill. I think it's a terrible bill to regulate social media and put the government in charge of it. And it was pretty interesting to see that that pushback from them because I was not happy that the fact that they voted for this bill. But anyways, Senate Bill 33, Weinberg's bill, and I'm only singling him out because he's the only Republican on it, to prohibit new liquor licensed drugstores. Horrible bill. Coloradans love to be able to buy their alcohol wherever we want. Senate Bill 77 testified on this bill. Absolutely horrible bill to restrict, make it harder for us to have transparency with our government. That's the Colorado Opens Record Act. Senate Bill 77 was a horrible attack on it that did pass and get to the governor, unfortunately.
House Bill 1010, prohibiting price gouging in sales of necessities. Terrible, terrible bill. As anybody who understands economics will understand, that this is only going to create a bunch of shortages, and it's only going to exacerbate problems for people within the market. That was passed on to the governor. Let's hope that we can our only hope now is to hope that our governor is actually a libertarian like he pretends to be and passes this one. Good bill, though, that actually passed, House Bill 1040, adding nuclear energy as a clean energy resource. That was passed. It's currently sitting on the governor's desk. So let's hope he signs this one as well.
Yeah, he did sign it. I
Oh,
apologize. I
he
didn't
has?
update the notes here. He did sign House Bill 1040 as Finance City Cycling pointed out. So that was some good news there.
That is
Of course,
fantastic.
Senate Bill 3, the worst gun ban in Colorado history, is sitting on the governor's desk as we speak. I don't know about you guys, but if you saw the Colorado Politics article where they had the governor's spokesperson talk about this bill, she basically said that they amended it so that the governor would support it. I am confident the governor is going to obviously let this become law. As disheartening as that is, I think that's the reality. I can find that quote and post it, but yeah, it's out there. House Bill 1133, the anti-firearms ammunition bill, is at the governor's desk as well, which he'll probably sign or let become law. It prohibits people under 21 from being able to legally buy ammo.
House Bill 1005, tax incentives for film festivals. This is another ridiculous law that was passed and sent to the governor. And considering how he celebrated the Sundance Film Festival coming to Boulder, I have zero doubts in my mind that he's at least going to let this thing pass through and not veto it, if not sign it himself. And then we see here again House Bill 1040.
Oh, whoops, my bad. Changed up the slides this week here. It was really surprised this one failed. House Bill 1243. This was the peace officer questions during traffic stop. I like this bill. It would have made the police officers have to tell you why they pulled you over, and they couldn't just ask you a generic question. It was a good bill. Unfortunately, it was killed. This is the bill. I don't know if anybody was following Rep. Armagost on X. He said this is the one that Representative Garcia gave him the double bird, flipped him off on this bill because they were going at each other, I guess, on this. So interesting stuff there. Surprised this bill died. House Bill 1145, a great bill from Representative Bottoms, governor candidate right now, to prevent minors from being trafficked for abortion or transgender care in Colorado. But of course, that is totally contrary to what the Democrats are pushing.
House Bill 1237, stop closing of alcohol beverage establishments. That was going to relax a little bit of those bar closing laws. That was unfortunately killed, as well as reducing the cost of state regulations, and Senate Bill 156, which was killed as well.
Yeah. House Bill 1255, healthcare provider right to exercise conscience. Representative Luck's bill to let healthcaters opt out of doing things they don't agree with, such as abortions and transgender stuff. Of course, that was killed. House Bill 1251, requiring parental consent for minors to be treated for transgender stuff or abortions. Of course, killed by the Democrats.
House Bill 1190 expanding Colorado College Foods Act. This is what Rep. Gonzalez was calling the Tamale Act. That was unfortunately killed. And then House Bill 1232, liability when means of self-defense was prohibited. This was unfortunately killed as well. Another good Stephanie Luck bill. She's just had a run of bad luck with her bills being introduced.
House Bill 1089 was a good bill to kind of strengthen the ballot signature verification requirements, but of course, that bill's dead. Democrats don't want to do anything to alter elections. Hey, they're winning. Why would they? House Bill 1141, Representative Bradley's great bill to go after property crime criminals and gift card theft and really try and make sure these people are getting thrown in jail. Of course, killed by the Democrats.
Senate Bill 56, this was Sullivan's little pet project to reduce the excise tax on cigars. That was killed. And then House Bill 1055, repeal firearm dealer requirements and state permits. This was a repeal of the firearm dealer permit requirements that were added last year at the end of the legislative session. It was unfortunately killed as well in committee.
The egg bill, the cage-free egg law, repealing that bill, 1074 was killed. Thank you for Representative Gonzalez for running that one. We want cheaper eggs. House Bill 1051, another one from Representative Gonzalez to get rid of the 10-cent paper bag carryout fee. This bill was so all it would do is say you could get a paper bag and not pay the 10-cent fee. That's literally all it would do. It did not even talk about plastic bags. And of course, they still killed it.
House Bill 1134. This is Rep. Bottom's insect production, human construction consumption ban. This was killed, as well as Rep. Brooks' House Bill 1143, open source software and voting systems, which was going to open up the software of a lot of our voting systems in Colorado to make it a little bit more fair use.
Dan Woog's bill to repeal retail delivery fees, 1144, of course, killed. We pay that 29-cent fee plus others every time you order something. Senate Bill 47, this was their big push from the Republican caucus to strengthen Colorado's immigration laws to say that, hey, you basically have to enforce federal immigration law. So, of course, we knew that bill was going to die. But we do have a recorded vote of Democrats voting against that bill.
House Bill 1106, remove precipitation collection limitations. That was unfortunately killed. What you do on your property is your business. You should be able to collect rainwater if you want. It's your property. Senate Bill 57, non-citizen voter registration cancellation, was oddly killed because if you're not having non-citizens register to vote, then why would you even need this bill in the first place? So my question becomes is why was this thing killed? Because clearly we have a problem in Colorado.
A couple more bills here, folks. House Bill 1242, the government transparency laws. I testified on this one. It was a great bill to repeal last year's bill anti-transparency measure that made it through the legislature and also expand our open meetings and sunshine laws. Great bill. Love to see that come back as a ballot measure. I think Independence Institute might be working on that. Senate Bill 76 was the anti-marijuana bill that was absolutely horrible, regardless of what you think about marijuana. If you believe in freedom, 76 was a bad one. Thankfully, was killed.
Senate Bill 139, grocery and utility bill reduction measures. I believe we were nicknaming this one the Afrera bill in honor of Javier Milei. This one was unfortunately killed. Fantastic bill by Senator Baisley. And then another disgusting action by the Colorado State Legislature in killing House Bill 1073. This was protections against child rape. This was going to ensure that child rapists would actually see jail time, and instead, this makes sure that I believe it's 70 child rapists a year don't see prison time, but they just receive probation. Absolutely unacceptable. We are the 43rd we are the seventh most dangerous state in the country. for reasons like this. It is not safe for our children right now, and we need to do better. Unfortunately, this bill was killed.
Yep, that's your Yara Zoke. Yara Zoke there. Emily Rose in the chat. They're talking about Yara Zoke. She's one of the people who killed House Bill 1073, the one that would have put child rapists in jail. But she was okay with keeping child rapists out. Absolutely sickening. So there we go, folks. That's it. That's what we got. A lot of slides, a lot of information, 42 slides this week. So we're keeping you up to date, folks. This is recorded. Send this out to everybody. Hopefully making some clips during the week to get this information out there. But so much going on in our state. Really appreciate everybody joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We had some amazing guests tonight. Of course, we were thinking Erin Lee might be able to join us. Not surprised she couldn't. That's why I was trying to put possibly everywhere, because I know she had a big day today and wasn't sure, but is definitely interested in joining us in the future, I believe. So that'll be nice. But yeah, absolutely craziness, folks. Don't give up. Stay optimistic. We're going to win this fight, but get informed. That's the first step. Get informed. Get this information out to your neighbors, your coworkers. Start getting involved. Start finding out who represents you in the state legislature. Find out if they're good or bad. Start planning their replacement if they're bad. Record these votes. Write this information down so that in 2026, when these people are up for election again, we have a whole book of votes, of laws, of things they've done, the harm they've caused to Colorado that we can use to hold against them come next election. That's why this is so important. And of course, have a voice, get involved. Look forward to seeing everybody down there at the Capitol this last week. So, any other thoughts, Michael?
No, I just appreciate everybody sticking with us. We still have 50 people on with us as of basically 10 o'clock at night. You really hung in there, and we are really grateful for you guys sticking around. A ton of bills, uh, a ton of bills to cover, and we can't cover anymore because there's 665 bills introduced as of this moment. So we really appreciate you guys sticking with us uh and fighting the good fight. I'm excited to see you guys tomorrow, and make sure to say hi if you see us if you come down to the Capitol.
Yes, 100%. Thank you, everyone. Free State Colorado just hit 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you, everybody out there. I got a video coming out tomorrow with Corey Gaines, a really good writer, talking about this Tabor issue, the attacks on Tabor this year. That's an interesting one. It's going to be a fun one you can listen to on your drive to work. So check that out on Free State Colorado on YouTube and on social media. Got a lot of really cool videos and interviews coming out. I so far interviewed the three Republican governor candidates as well: Senator Mark Baisley, Representative Scott Bottoms, and Teller County Sheriff Mike Sell down there. So it got some really interesting interviews. I asked them all the same questions so you can kind of see how they answer, what their own perspectives are. So check those out at freestatecolorado.com. Lots of good stuff to come. We're in this fight for the long haul. We're going to win. Don't give up, and let's keep it going. Thank you guys. Thank you, everybody.